KJR.
I was just asked positively the worst question I've ever been asked.
Really?
By Bree Love Millen.
Well, we've been doing the great debate for a couple of years now.
Yeah, bad question. He just asked me how my day's going. What kind of guy asks another guy how his day's going at 5 o'clock in the morning?
Look, your day's been going on for about an hour and a half.
How's my day going?
Things could have gone wrong or gone well.
Well, what the hell? I mean, that's like...
You want more information?
Sure.
I walked by him in the hallway. He's getting water. I said, how you doing? You don't even answer. And then I get a little closer. I said, how's it going?
No, that's not what you said.
Twice
When?
you didn't even respond to me.
Well, I didn't hear
you must be going deaf.
I am. I'm completely deaf. I didn't hear you in the
You
hallway.
like Beethoven or something?
I said good morning to you in the
Walk
hallway.
over there and
you
put on
did.
his cue.
You must have mumbled the other part.
No,
I didn't hear it.
No, because I said it first and then I said it again.
I'm sorry.
As I got
didn't hear
closer.
it. I didn't hear it.
I said, how you doing?
I apologize. I didn't hear you.
Oh, okay.
Walk over there and put on his
how's your
headphones.
day
And I'm
going?
thinking, well, after you walk by a colleague and you say, how you doing, twice and he doesn't respond to you. And then I thought,
well, you said
you
good
doing all
morning.
right?
Oh, well, I didn't. I'm sorry. I didn't hear you.
All right.
A
A little bit of context there.
All right.
Want to make sure, a lot of things. What time did you get up? What time did you get out of bed?
I get out of bed the same time. Well, kind of.
Which is what?
I got up at 4. Let's see here. 4. I got to do the math on it because I set my clock for 22 minutes ahead. 5:14 minus 22.
Okay.
So 4:52.
4:52.
All right. Well, a lot of things can happen in an hour and 8 minutes.
You could have stepped on...
Maybe that your hot water heater blew up and you took a cold shower.
You could have stepped on a Lego.
Thanks for asking. My day's going great.
Going great?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Could have run out of
Good
body
morning,
wash or shampoo.
We're setting a record today.
Yeah?
What's the record?
Isn't today the record day? 52 straight days, no rain.
Oh, I don't know anything.
Is that right?
Yeah. Seattle record.
Don't we set that record every year?
Well, we set the record in the other way.
Oh, we do.
Most
No, we don't set 52 days without rain.
52
record.
days without rain. Did we go into the streak with 52 days with rain?
Probably 152.
What do you have in your mouth? What are you sucking? A lozenge?
Cough drop.
You're still with the
yeah.
cough.
Yeah.
You're still with the cough.
You have a
Crazy.
cough
No
button
other
Enough
on?
with the
symptoms.
cough.
No other
Enough with the
symptoms.
cough. Can I do headlines?
Hope so.
Seahawks mock game yesterday. Number 1 offense versus number 2 defense and vice versa. Russell Wilson, 15 of 18, 244 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yes, the ones were better than the twos.
Were you there yesterday?
Yeah.
The ones were better than the twos
Yep.
on both offensively and defensively?
Both sides.
It's funny how that happens.
Isn't that strange?
Yes. M's day off yesterday. Nice help from the Cardinals, who bombed the Royals yesterday, which means the Mariners head into today's action 1 game back of both Tampa and Kansas City, 3.5 back of the Yankees for that top wild card, which will host the wild card game. Ariel Miranda versus Kendall Graveman tonight. Graveman's 4.96 ERA. He gave up in his last start 5 days ago. 8 runs in 2 innings. And the team is 4-5 in his 9 starts this season. 2 games between the Mariners and the A's over the next 2 nights. Is Andrew Wiggins... I just can't believe the money gets thrown around in the NBA. It is unbelievable. And I'm not saying that Andrew Wiggins isn't a great player. He's probably a great player. But every time I turn around now, every single day, somebody else is making $30 million a year or more. $30 million a year or more. Every single day you look up in the NBA wires and somebody's getting signed to $30 million guaranteed or more. I need music for the headlines. 5 years, $150 million.
A couple months ago, I was in Salt Lake City, took on a Jazz game, had good seats down by the court, and David Locke hooked me up. Remember David Locke? And they were playing Minnesota.
Stupid questions today.
Minnesota.
Really stupid questions today.
I'm
now
not
what?
necessarily
Now Is this because I ignored you 2 times 2 that you'd asked me the David Locke question?
The David Locke question.
I worked with him for 15 years. Yeah, I do remember David Locke.
All right. Well, maybe that was just kind of a
okay. Yeah,
a question for everybody.
Yes.
So they're playing Minnesota, and that Wiggins dude is bad to the bone. I didn't know much about. I mean, I remember from college. I remember getting drafted.
Remember his dad? Mitchell Wiggins?
Mitchell Wiggins? No.
Yeah. Veteran NBA player. Might have even won a championship with that Houston Rockets team. I don't know.
Those guys are the best athletes in the world, and for him to, you see guys that stand out like that, he's got a ton of game.
$30 million a year over 5 years he's going to sign for. David Griffin, the former Cavs GM, calls Kyrie Irving's request for trade courageous. Jay Cutler, introduced in Miami, says his wife convinced him to take the job. $10 million with a chance to make 13 over 1 year. We'll do that to a man and his wife. Huh?
No income tax.
No income tax. Dolphins star wide receiver Jarvis Landry under investigation for battery of his child's mother, although she says she was never physically in any danger and never harmed. Mike Trout, the 7th youngest in Major League history to 1,000 career hits. He did it with a double on his 26th birthday last night. And, oh, by the way, number 1,001 came a few innings later, and that was a home run. Former NFL quarterback Boomer Esiason says he thinks all football players probably have some form of CTE. And golf's 4th and final major, the PGA Championship, begins Thursday in Charlotte. The news yesterday was interesting. The PGA will move up to May, starting in 2019.
Oh.
It will become golf's 2nd major. Starting in 2019, it will be Masters in April, PGA in May, U.S. Open in June, British Open or Open Championship in July. The biggest reason for the scheduling change is the PGA Tour wants to be able to finish its playoffs and finish its season before the NFL season starts.
Makes sense.
Currently, they linger into the beginning of the NFL season and get absolutely nobody watches the final few tournaments of the FedEx Series. But by moving the PGA to May, it allows the PGA Tour to start its playoffs when the PGA Championship would normally be in August.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's over. They finish by Labor Day. Get out of the way because everybody wants to clear the decks before the NFL season starts.
Well, there's no question that the PGA Championship is a distant 4th in terms of just stature and impact.
Panache.
Yeah.
You like that word, panache?
Yeah, I do.
I've been working on it all
Have
morning.
you?
Yeah, that's the way my morning's been going.
That way, you were thinking about while you were getting water. And ignoring your colleagues.
Right.
But
a sip?
I don't know how much of that may have to do with August. It just seems anticlimactic when you watch the PGA Championship. So maybe sticking it in the 2-hole in terms of the order might be.
Why'd you roll your eyes as you were delivering?
Because I actually thought of.
Why were you?
I was thinking of the 2-hole like a baseball lineup.
Sticking it in the 2-hole.
I was thinking of like the 2-hole of the baseball lineup.
Why was there a need for an eye roll for the 2-hole? For you
I don't
saying
know.
about
There's
sticking it in
just,
the 2-hole?
maybe it has to do with the way.
Can we put that next to banging the?
How do you like the 2-hole?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I was thinking of a baseball lineup, and I thought, you know what? It's too early in the morning to try and reshape my thought process, so I just went with it. But. I've always thought, there's that big gap after
I think
the.
you're a mumbler earlier in the morning. I think we're finding out that the
I
hallway
think you're deaf.
was not
always.
Yeah, you know how loud I wear these things?
Put them on.
In all seriousness, for everybody who's listening, Mitch wears his headphones so loud that he can take them off, put them on his desk 10 feet away, and it's too loud as a speaker. Like I'm looking to turn it down as a speaker.
This is the utmost form of flattery. Because I feel that you have such good things to say. I want to hear it loud.
That's your reply. You read about Beethoven's life?
Huh?
Have you read about Beethoven?
I don't know. I haven't read about it, but I know he didn't hear very well. Huh?
Yeah.
Montage today, the Seahawks at 7 at 7. It's funny how the Seahawks at 7 comes up at 7 a.m. every day.
Interesting.
Pete Carroll. I don't know if it's going to be Pete Carroll with Softy and Hugh or Pete Carroll on the mic yesterday. Schnozzes and Hammers. Hugh's got something to say at 8 o'clock, and he wants and I'm going to turn you think these things are high now. Wait till you hear how high they are at 8 o'clock when Hugh's got something to say. We're going to give people a chance to win 50-yard line seats to the final regular season game of the season between the Cardinals and Seahawks by answering a phone poll. It's a fun one today. Richard Sherman at 8:45. Great debates at 9 o'clock. And where in the world, you see, NBC, it's funny because I never saw it once, but I happen to know they did it many, many years ago. Matt Lauer. You know Matt Lauer?
Yes.
He went somewhere in some faraway place. And nobody told the producers, and nobody told his colleagues where he was.
Okay.
And every morning he would come on from a different place, from some faraway world.
Okay.
And the colleagues, I think, would find out at that moment, where in the world is Matt Lauer?
Uh-huh.
And he would tell them where they are, and then they'd have a conversation about where he was, and he'd be on via satellite, and it would be, where in the world is Matt Lauer?
Okay.
So Jason Lockenfor is one of these NFL guys, and there's a bunch of them who go training camp to training camp. But some of these training camps are not in the – I know more and more are in the actual cities where the teams are, but a lot of them are in college campuses, distant college campuses and so forth. And
Flowery Branch, Georgia.
Well, he knows Flowery Branch, Georgia.
Yeah.
And so they go around to all these different kind of faraway places. So I figured we'd do a where in the world is Jason Lockenfor? And they don't tell me or you where he's calling in from today, and we just
roll.
Find out. Hey, where are you? I'm at a Panera in Flowery Branch, Georgia.
Okay.
All right, what's going on there?
Yeah.
And we spend a couple of minutes to find out where in the world is Jason Lockenfor, and then we
landscape of the NFL.
Yeah. You like that idea?
I do.
It's clever.
I like it a lot. Yeah.
Berea, Ohio.
Yeah. So you just got to go on the fly.
We just go on the fly. Where are you? And what are the stories? And what's interesting about the Falcons? And what's going on? And then he stays on for 2 or 3 minutes. Nobody really cares about that much.
And let him paint.
Yeah, well, it's NFL. People like NFL. And that's what we're going to do today. They just tell me when it's going to be. So I guess he's calling in from somewhere in our 9 o'clock hour. Where in the world is Jason Lockenfor? Let's start the show.
Live from the Carter Volkswagen Studios. KJR AM and KJR FM HD2 Seattle, an iHeart radio station. This is Mitch in the Morning.
For 11 and 2.
Put it away.
For 11 and 2. Unless you've got something new that I don't know about.
Oh, yeah, that's true. 11 and 2. Good morning, everybody. The voice of Hugh Millen, who wants to know how you're doing today. How's your day going so far? Now, for the people that are coming home after a long night of work,
well,
that's an appropriate question.
Look,
how's your day going?
I've had days which have been ruined by this time already, so it's not a horrible question.
That's not a healthy, happy life.
Just some days, some mornings.
Did you know that Slickhawk had a birthday on Friday when we were at the
Happy
VMAC?
birthday.
Thank you.
Nobody tells me anything.
I didn't know it either.
What the heck?
I didn't know it either until my phone told me.
Really?
Yeah, I was driving around at 3 o'clock or in my house at 3 o'clock, and all of a sudden I hear some sort of an alarm go off on my phone. And I pick up my phone, it says, Slickhawk birthday.
Oh, all right. Well, did you text him?
Yeah, I texted him happy birthday. He ignored it. Didn't hear it in the hallway.
I didn't ignore it. I texted you back and thank you.
That's the theme of the first segment here.
First segment needs a theme. Are you on with Softy on a daily basis?
No, I was watching the scrimmage yesterday, and Dave asked me to come on with him at 3. I was going to the airport to pick up my family, and I looked. I said, "Well," he says, "Well, hey, I really want you to do this thing." And I kind of looked at my watch, and I said, "Well, I can go at 3." And so we jumped on at 3, and then he said,
"Are you sure you didn't go to Softy and say, I want to be on your show? I have things to say, and it's very, very, very important that I go on. Please let me on." Are you sure it wasn't the other way around?
I'm 100% sure.
Okay, all right.
It was Softy's. Softy asked me to come on.
Yeah.
And then he said, "Hey, we might have Pete Carroll on as well." And I said, "Well, do you want me to stay for that?" And he says, "Yeah." So
how'd it go? Did Pete know you?
Pete knows me.
Did Pete know? Did he remember you?
He knows who I am.
How was his day going?
Are we going to go through this on every?
I don't know.
It's going to be a long day.
How was it? What did Pete?
Well, I thought.
Did Pete use stuff?
No, I thought it was great.
Cool. Did he ever use the word cool or stuff?
He
A lot
may
of
have.
cool stuff
He
going
may
on
have.
here.
No, I thought he was very, very giving of his time, and he was generous that way, and I thought he said some interesting things.
What did he say that was interesting for those of us who did not hear the interview? Maybe those of us who were listening to hear the interview but couldn't hear it because the radio wasn't on high.
Well, I can start with
wasn't volume enough.
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, he said that might be a stretch. I don't want to paraphrase this because it's a pretty important topic, but he says might be a stretch to expect Malik McDowell to play at all this year. The intimation was that I got the words wrong, but I think that the suggestion was more or less that.
Boy, oh boy,
yeah. Jeremy Lane.
Thanks a lot for starting my morning off with that.
I know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Did he say what kind of injuries they were and how serious?
No.
Did you give him your theory?
Can't.
Did you throw your theory at him? Did you ask him if he was wearing a helmet? I bet you didn't. Nobody wanted to ask. I don't think. And everybody's scared to ask him that
Mitch,
question.
Here's the thing. When you only get the guy for so much, I had a long list of questions, as did Softy.
It's a yes or no question. It takes one half a second to say yes. Time me on this.
Stop it.
Time me.
Go.
Yes.
You're not going to, but
how long?
0.78 seconds.
Wait, time me on this.
Oh my gosh!
Because this is the
lug nuts are loosening already.
Here's the actual answer.
Let me clear.
Here's the actual answer.
Okay,
ready?
Go.
No, wait. I'll do it, and you on three.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. No.
Ow. 0.56.
0.56. Okay.
Yeah. There was
All
time.
Right.
There was time. You.
All right. Okay. Not everybody can be the world-class interviewer as you.
See,
some of us amateurs on the JV team.
It's got to be that.
I can tell what kind of job it's
If
going to be.
I could have only invited you.
That's
you know
what I meant.
What I should have done is just say, "Hey, Mitch, I'm utterly paralyzed. Can you please give me some questions for Pete Carroll?"
Go ahead.
He had already
Turn this
He had
about.
already,
Turn this
he had
about
already
me.
stated that
he's reminding me of my
talk.
wife right now. This
Can't
is the way my wife
He can't
does it.
talk. How many times has he said he can't talk? In the interview, he says he can't disclose details. So
okay, but he disclosed that.
I'm not going to say whether or not he's wearing.
It's a stretch that he could play the remainder of the season. Is that not a detail?
That
sounds like a
Do you think he was
detail.
Going to? Oh, yes or no?
Yeah.
Do you think he was going to answer whether or not?
No, but he would have answered it without answering it. Maybe. But you don't think it's as important as me, which is fine. I'm just asking. Don't take such offense that I'm asking you that.
No, I don't
question.
think it's as important as you.
Of course not. So it's okay.
Yeah, because.
But don't turn this around that I'm somehow.
Hang on. So the answer.
Yeah.
What's the end game in this? What we're trying to do is put it on a scale.
Yeah.
Neglect on one side and responsibility on the other. 0 to 100. Okay. Okay. So we want to land somewhere on some number. Either towards neglect or towards responsibility. The problem with the whole helmet situation for me is that I can put you closer to neglect if he's wearing a helmet and going 70 miles an hour off jumps than I can if I take his helmet off and he's going 10 miles an hour to go milk a cow. We don't know the circumstances. And so at any rate, I just haven't been hung up on the helmet thing. I didn't think he'd give the answer, and I'm not as clairvoyant as you to be able to glean the answer.
He turns this around about me. That sounds to me like he's
you start off.
He's sensitive about this. I asked a very simple question. Did you ask him if he's wearing a helmet?
No.
You don't have to make this about me.
Oh, well.
Very simple question. And if you didn't, that's okay.
Yeah.
No one's criticizing.
I don't think he would have answered.
Don't be so sensitive over there.
And you know what?
Why did you ask him?
If you can read people so well, I want you to ask to go to Vegas and win some money at a poker table.
I don't know. So
is Malik McDowell milking cows?
Boy, oh boy. To think
that's the point.
Let me ask you.
The point of the milking cow comment is we have no effing idea what he was doing, how fast he was going, where he was. Was he on a beach in the ocean? Was he up in the woods? Was he in the snow? We have no idea.
Hugh.
Because they're not talking.
Hugh.
Yeah. But you could have asked a question, he could have said, "Hey, I can't talk about it," and then you would have said, aha, there it is. I know exactly. It was the butler with a candlestick.
Why is it
in the billiard room?
Yeah.
Why are we having such an in-depth conversation about? Maybe it's my fault. Why are we having such an in-depth conversation on whether? It's a simple question. Did the guy decide to wear a helmet? Isn't that a question? When you hear that somebody gets in a motorcycle accident, right?
Yeah.
If you heard that your friend got in a motorcycle, God forbid, a friend got in a motorcycle, or somebody that you know, or somebody famous got in a, wouldn't one of the very first few questions, how long would it take until you wondered whether he was wearing a helmet?
I would want to know if I thought Pete Carroll was going to ask. And I think this, in my simpleton JV way of thinking here, if he's already – we got an interview. We got to talk about Sam linebacker, the right corner, about the offensive line, this long list, the running back. I mean, we got this long list, and if we're starting off and we're hammering him about the Malik McDowell situation when he's already made it clear.
You don't have to start with it, end with it.
Last question.
Who said? Well, first of all, you should be. I'm not going to do this. Nope, I'm not going to do this. I almost did something. I almost did something that was going to backfire on me. I'm not even going to say what I was going to say. I was thinking something, but I'm not saying it because he's just going to turn it around and say, "Not everybody's the all-time interviewer that you."
Well, don't say it. Just say what you were going to say.
What I was going to say is, you want to order things in a certain way, right? Right?
Roy Firestone here giving us lessons. I got it now.
He doesn't even know who Roy Firestone is. He's laughing at something he doesn't even know.
You don't know Roy Firestone?
He has no idea who Roy Firestone is.
He was an interviewer.
Yeah, of course. You know that from what he just said. What was he an interviewer of?
CBS.
He has no idea who Roy Firestone
Had
is.
a 1-3 shot.
He's taking a shot. Anyway, it's Tuesday morning on 950 KJR. See that whole thing? God.
Boxing. It was boxing. It was a boxing interview.
No, it wasn't boxing. Malik McDowell. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Not going to play, and I'm just gouging my eyes out at this. This is just unbelievable.
You know something?
That he's already not going to play that we're already ruling out. We haven't even. He never got to training camp. When was the last time? I want to know when the last time this happened. When was the last time a rookie? Top pick, somebody's top pick, rookie, was ruled out for his rookie season before he ever went to training camp.
Happened to the Jags like a year or two ago, didn't it? Jalen Ramsey?
I guess it happens, but when they get hurt, they get hurt in some team activity, right? I guess it happens. I guess it happens.
No.
This seems like, oh my God, only the Seahawks.
Oh no, that happens. That happens a fair amount, but it's
not on an
injuries.
ATV.
Yeah, exactly. It's injuries on a field.
Yeah. It's a mini camp injury or something like that.
Well,
I can't believe that the guy's not going to play the whole year.
Ponder
the
this.
whole year. He's out for the year. We're never even going to get a chance to see the guy play.
If we're listening,
what the hell?
The top 3 picks of the draft might not be starters.
The top 3 picks in the draft may not be starters?
Yeah.
Well, who are they? I don't even know who the top 3 picks are anymore. I don't remember.
McDowell, Posick, and
you're talking about the Seahawks' top 3 picks. I thought you were talking about the top 3 overall picks of the draft.
I think 2 out of 3 of those are going to end up being starters. Though,
well, let me tell you something.
I said could, but let's look at him. McDowell may not play.
Right.
Ifedi right now is running number 1 at right tackle, and we've heard about the versatility. Would it shock you if Ethan Posick was the number 6 lineman and was the jack of all trades?
Of course,
first guy in on a couple positions.
Of course not. Master of none. Yes.
And then he said in the interview that Jeremy Lane right now has a fairly decent stranglehold of that right corner position.
Boy, did they sacrifice a lot to get Malik McDowell. I know that they traded down to get him, but boy, oh boy, that was a pretty hefty price to not address your starting corner. There were some pretty darn good players on the board, both in the offensive line and in the cornerback position. Certainly in the cornerback position, arguably on the offensive line. When they decided to start trading back and trading back and trading back with the idea of getting Malik McDowell, boy, did they give up something to be able to do all that. And now They gave up whatever they gave up, which was big, and what they got was a guy that's not even going to play the first year.
Well, that hasn't been
Well, it certainly
solidified.
sounds like that.
But
it certainly sounds that way.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get started Tuesday morning on 950 KJR. Hugh Breedlove's in the house. Seahawks at 7. Schnoz's Hammers. Hugh's got something to say at 8. Phone poll for the 50-yard line seats for the Cardinals-Seahawks game. Richard Sherman at 8:45. Great debate. Where in the world is Jason looking for? Let's get started. How's your day going?
The Morning Montage with Mitch in the Morning.
Oh, my goodness!
Brought to you by Washington's Lottery. Visit walottery.com.
Minutes away from the Seahawks at 7. What time do you think the Seahawks at 7 comes on?
I'm going to guess 7, but, I'm no rocket Scientologist.
Scientologist or rocket scientist? Is the expression scientist or Scientologist?
The expression is scientist.
But it's funnier when you say Scientologist.
Yes.
Because you're messing up the expression.
And they sound dumber.
Yeah.
Hence the irony of the statement.
Yeah, I like it. The morning, I've never heard that before. Do people do that?
I've heard it once or twice.
Yeah, it's good. It's solid. Can I borrow it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Isn't Madonna a Scientologist?
Yes, I believe so. I know Tom Cruise is.
Yeah, Tom Cruise.
No, Madonna's Kabbalah. Kabbalah Madonna.
Do you know what a Scientologist is?
Kinda. Not really.
Okay. The morning montage from the Carter Volks. I believe that to be you got to be like a movie star to be a Scientologist, like a popular figure. You're not allowed to be a Scientologist unless you're a.
I don't think that's how it works.
No. From the Carter Volkswagen studio, Richard Sherman talks about the patience of rookie Shaq Griffin.
He's gotten more patient. He's trusting himself more. He's not biting on the receiver's first moves like he was in OTAs. He had a susceptibility to the inside release that he doesn't have as often anymore. He's not relying on his athleticism as much as he was at first. He's playing smarter, so all those things are coming into fruition. But those are just learning things being a young guy.
Shaq Griffin better be good.
I don't know. I like everything I've seen from the guy. I really
better
do.
be good, Hugh.
I like him.
Every time I hear Malik McDowell's not going to play, I think we've just tightened the screws even more on Shaq Griffin better be good.
Yeah.
Better be good. I didn't say better be a starter. I said better be good. I've seen starters go out and play corner on this team and others that aren't very good. They get just killed week after week after week. He's got to be a starter, and he's got to be good. Both.
Got to be a starter.
Starter and good.
Okay.
That's right. That's right. Pete Carroll on Luke Jokel.
Yeah, he's just a little sore from all the work. I just want to make sure and not push him too far, knowing that there's a big day coming up. He's done everything up till now, and he's done really well. Really like him in both spots. So it's the experiment of, can he play both spots? Could he be a starter in both spots? Yes, is what we feel, and really excited about that. And so we're going to see how it fits together with the other guys. George Fenton has done a really nice job, and George making a real plea to be the left tackle for us. And so things are going very well in that.
Jay Cutler on picking up the Dolphins playbook.
Here with Adam and the Dolphins, it's one of those situations where a few of those parameters are kind of taken out because I know Adam, I know how he likes to call games, I know how he likes to operate, and I know the system. I'm sure he's made a few changes since I had him last, but I would think that I'll be able to learn it pretty quickly.
Short anecdote that nobody cares about, nor will anybody find interesting, but I'll do it anyway. I was sitting on my couch yesterday, and I very rarely turn the TV on in the afternoon. Almost never. I don't know what fazed me to turn on the TV. I just decided, well, let's turn the TV on. Put on one of the ESPN family of networks. I don't know which one it was. And they were showing footage of his press conference.
Mm-hmm.
In like a dolphin shirt. He was wearing like a dolphin shirt. And I was like, is Jay Cutler a dolphin? Really? Am I? Is this really happening? Am I watching Jay Cutler address the media as a Miami Dolphin?
Yeah.
This is the quarterback that I get to root for as the start of the season. This is what I got.
He's your guy.
Jay Cutler?
He's your MVP.
A guy that I have spent a portion of my professional career just torturing and just saying every negative and nasty thing I could say about him from a personality standpoint right through his quarterbacking play. He's wearing a Dolphins shirt right now.
How
really?
about that?
This is where I can pin my hopes and dreams on Jay Cutler?
I'd be thinking,
what am I doing
if this was
here?
happening in Seattle, slick. It's like, what? Russell's out with a... I don't even want to say the words.
Well, yeah, just stop right there.
Right.
Jay Cutler. And then Jay Cutler, they bring in Jay Cutler. Yeah, I'd be feeling kind of gross.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
This is what it's become.
Remember that playoff game where he just tapped out?
I don't even remember him being in a playoff game. Who did he play for?
The Bears. Yeah, he said his knee hurt, and he just... I don't know. It's like if you had asked me 2 minutes ago, what's the most shocking, alarming, I'll go with the word again, tap out you've ever seen a football player exercise in a playoff game, I'd immediately say Jay Cutler. Whatever the game was.
Oh, there's another one.
Where guy just said, no mas?
Yes, there's another one. One of your favorite all-time players did it in a playoff game.
Dickerson?
Right in front of your own eyes. I say one of your all-time favorite players facetiously.
Oh.
One of your all-time favorite players
I'm not tracking.
got hit in the nose by LeVar Arrington and wore a jacket and smiled the rest of the game on the
He had a
sideline.
concussion.
I don't know. Guys who have concussions go back into the locker room and they kind of hang out in the locker room. He was in a coat, smiling and dancing and joking around the whole rest of the game.
He had a concussion.
Well,
You know who I'm talking about.
oh, I know. No, I know. Sean,
There's some
Sean
people that
Alexander,
think he
I know.
tapped out of that game.
Yeah, I know, but I think Slick has a point there. It's a little ambiguous.
Okay.
And we're talking about a concussion, a quarterback with a knee. Go back and watch Phillip Rivers play with a torn ACL in a playoff game. I don't know. It just
the rest of the game on the
He had a
sideline.
concussion.
I don't know. Guys who have concussions go back into the locker room and they kind of hang out in the locker room. He was in a coat, smiling and dancing and joking around the whole rest of the game.
He had a concussion.
Well,
You know who I'm talking about.
oh, I know. No, I know. Sean,
There's some
Sean
people that
Alexander,
think he
I know.
tapped out of that game.
Yeah, I know, but I think Slick has a point there. It's a little ambiguous.
Okay.
And we're talking about a concussion, a quarterback with a knee. Go back and watch Phillip Rivers play with a torn ACL in a playoff game. I don't know. It just...
Vince
Don't get me wrong.
Wilfork says, no mas.
Hey! No more cleats. I'm moving on to smoked meats, fellas. Peace out. I'm out of here. Later.
God, how big is that slide? How big is Vince Wilfork?
Thought it was over, huh? I'll be back,
enough of this.
but not on that field.
I got it. Vince Wilfork retired. Sean McVay on the Rams' future.
Well, I think the biggest thing is that you've got a great coaching staff that you can kind of lean on as we figure out, the kind of culture that we want to establish and maintain. And that was something that we collectively kind of decided on, and that message that we wanted to be able to kind of deliver to the players. And then ultimately, they're the ones that drive the bus and make the message go. And that's the thing that we wanted to echo to them is what to expect. And, ultimately, we talk about it's always about the team. And, as long as we're able to stay connected and continue to do the little things the right way, we'll give ourselves a chance.
Josh Norman, no bow and arrows.
That's okay. So if therefore one of them is banned and looked at as a dangerous act, how come all of them are not looked at that way? So somebody can just shoot a cannon in a stadium and it'd be fine. And somebody can just shoot off a musket and it'd be cool too. But then when a player shoot off a bow and arrow, an imaginary bow and arrow, up in the sky, that's a flag. That's a penalty. But see, if the same thing is in the stadium, everybody's doing it, it's like, what's the problem? It's so, they pick and choose what they want to do when it comes to that. And I understand, they point out what they want to point out and do what they want to do. So at the end of the day, we just got to go and find something else.
Josh Norman wants to be able to shoot an imaginary bow and arrow up into the sky when he makes an interception.
Sounds reasonable to me.
Yeah.
Eli Manning says CTE isn't a subject often brought up in the locker room.
I think a lot of players don't want to think about injuries, don't want to think about down the road too much. Some are, and you see some guys retiring, but I hadn't heard a whole lot of talk about it. I've been fortunate, and hadn't had any head injuries.
Former quarterback Boomer Esiason.
If I, died tomorrow and my brain basically was taken and researched and I was found to have CTE, which most likely I have.
Why do you say that?
Because I think all football players probably have it.
David Griffin on the Kyrie Irving situation.
Well, I think Kyrie's going to end up getting traded. But I think what Ron was saying is really unfair to Kyrie. I don't think this is youth and ignorance. This is a guy who handled this situation exactly like he was supposed to. He went to Dan Gilbert privately, told him that he thought he would be happier somewhere else. The absolute worst thing this guy could have done was pretend to be all in and sink the ship from within. Most guys don't have the courage to do what he did, so that's not youth and ignorance.
Mike Trout on his 26th birthday.
Struck out looking his first time. This was ripped down the left field line for an extra base hit. Trout at career hit number 1,000 and does it in grand fashion with his 17th double of the season. 3-2. Breaking ball down the left field line. If it's fair, it is gone. It's off the foul pole. Big fly for Mike Trout. He's done it again on his birthday.
And former Mariners prospect Patrick Kivlahan in a Reds win.
Stretches and deals, and this one is swung on and hit back into deep right center field. Grand slam home run. Patrick Kivlahan lights up Maton on the first pitch, and the Reds have quite effectively blown this game wide open.
The Seattle Seahawks played a football game yesterday. Now, it was called a mock football game. Number ones against number twos against number ones. Hugh Millen was there. We'll assess the performances next on 950 KJR. Don't forget Seahawks at 7, 18 minutes away. Seahawks at 7. Greg Bell, Seahawks Insider, Tacoma News Tribune every day at that time. And Pete Carroll right after that. 13 minutes away from the Seahawks at 7. Greg Bell, the Seahawks Insider for the Tacoma News Tribune, will be with us as he is each and every morning at this time, 7 a.m., on the news of the day. The things that you need to know with regard to the Seahawks from somebody who covers the Seahawks every single minute. The Seahawks allow him to cover them. There was a mock game yesterday. I don't know what a mock game is. Not sure that I really understand why we call it a mock game. Was it a walkthrough? Was it a scrimmage between the first team and the second team? What do you call a mock? Why is it a mock game?
Well, I think they're in addition to practicing, they're trying to practice the mechanics of a game in terms of how you warm up, how you approach. They had a halftime. How a drive could end. You're moving the ball, and then if you don't get a first down, you're off the field. Just the mechanics, the communication mechanics of how to get personnel groups in and out of the field. I mean, I think it's time well spent. It is something that every team does at about this time, a week before
their first preseason.
You try and somehow provide a new environment for the players, and if you try and create an elevated sense of the practice, you take note if somebody kind of steps up in those situations. I know Don James was really clear. We would have scrimmages every Saturday in the spring, and then prior to the Saturday game in the fall camp. And back then, those were live on the quarterback. I mean, no red jerseys, nothing. Quarterback, you could hit the quarterback until Mark Brunell got his knee wrenched, and they stopped that. But they went years and years, and the quarterbacks were live on those scrimmages, and they always said, hey, look, we're grading the scrimmage higher than we are any other practice. In fact, all of the depth chart adjustments come out after the week on the day after that scrimmage. So it's just a lot of times coaches are just trying to elevate the sense of importance, if for no other reason they just want to see how guys respond.
Okay, so talk about the competition. Forget all the mechanics.
Yeah,
the competition value, the value of competition, and what it looked like yesterday, and were the two teams getting after each other and who looked good, who didn't look good, and all that kind of good stuff.
Well, now having said all that, they're still not tackling to the ground.
Well, they're not.
Yeah, they're still not tackling.
Two-hand touch?
No, they thud. You know, I mean, there's different terms. Thud tempo was one where they come in, and if Bobby Wagner's going to come up on Eddie Lacy, he's gonna fit on him. He's going to square up, and he's going to give him a shoulder. But he's not going to take him to the ground.
Okay.
And I think that's the prudent course in that situation. You get professionals out there, you're going to get injured if
okay, you're going to be knee
injured.
Yeah,
it's just too great of a risk.
Okay, so tell me about.
No, I thought the offense did a nice job. Now the ones are going against the twos on both sides of the ball, so you'd expect the ones to beat the twos, right? Now it's one of those age-old thing. The coaches. They said, well, we want our starters to beat our backups, but then if you beat them too bad, then you start worrying about the depth. I mean, there's just a no-win situation, right? If you go ones against ones, then you're going to like whoever wins, but then you're going to in the same breath you're going to say, if the defense storms the offense, and
you'd also like to build some confidence in your number one units. Both the defense and the offense. You'd like to be feeling good about themselves.
You want to know my take?
Yeah.
My take is if they went ones against ones, the defense would destroy the offense.
Still. Well, we've always felt that way.
Yeah.
You still feel that way.
It destroys a strong.
Give me some names. Give me some names that stood out to your eye.
Well, I love the.
Russell had good numbers.
Russell,
they keep stats on these things. 18 of something or other and another something or other.
21.
18 and 21.
18 for 244 yards.
Yeah, and that's a high yield. You're getting 244 yards on 21. You're up over 10 yards per attempt, and so he's hitting some balls down the field. I mean, he hits C.J. Procise, matched up against a linebacker early in the scrimmage down the left sideline, and they're. I think that the team expect them to really try and develop the passing game from the running back position. I think with C.J. Procise, that's a clear indication of what they want to do. They got this guy now. This is the darkest of dark horses, but he keeps catching my eye.
Horses. Yeah.
I want you to remember a guy named McKisson.
Oh, McKissick,
McKissick, number 14.
Yeah, they had him last year.
He was a running back last year, I believe.
Well, what is he now? An offensive lineman? What is he? What the hell is he now?
He's a receiver. He had been with the Falcons, and they had a loaded backfield.
But they had him last year. I know that you're saying it as if we never heard of the guy.
No, but they're working him out at receiver.
Okay.
And he's got thick leg. He looks like Steve Smith. Remember the receiver from Carolina? I'm not just doing this for you.
Yes,
you think there's 39 listening? I kind of doubt.
Remember David
that.
Locke?
I think.
Okay.
Do you remember
him? If you get half of that.
I remember Steve Smith, the receiver from Carolina. Yes,
like Steve Smith, the receiver. He
played for Baltimore too. By
yes,
the way.
he did, and he's kind of built like that, and
short and wide.
Yeah, but you know what? He's a running back, and they're trying to get something out of him by spreading him out, and he's got receiver route running ability, and he's got soft hands, and if you ask me a guy right now, you say who's a guy that has a chance that absolutely nobody's even
on
thinking
anybody's
or talking
radar.
about? Yeah. I don't know. I just want to see this guy.
Yeah.
Well,
wait a second. Could I ask you a quick question? Because we got to go to Greg Bell here in like 20 seconds. But when the ones are working against the twos and Russell Wilson is carving up the twos at 18 for 21 for 244, is Shaq Griffin part of the twos? Where's Shaq Griffin?
I'm trying to watch a lot of
Shaq Griffin part of the
Shaq
Griffin wasn't getting
I had my eyes on Shaq pretty much all the time.
Was he on the ones or was he on the twos?
He played with the ones most of the times. He played with both units. He played mostly with the ones, though.
Okay, so he was going up as the number 2. He wasn't going up against Russell Wilson.
No, I don't remember him getting beat.
All right.
All
right, Seahawks insider stuff. If you're a Seahawks fan or an NFL fan, you want to hear the next segment, we will pop Greg Bell on, Seahawks insider from the Tacoma News Tribune, get us the stories of the day, yesterday and today, get you set up for work today. And then Pete Carroll on 950 KJR speaks as well as we start the 7 o'clock hour. Seahawks at 7, and your chance to win 50-yard line seats coming up, Cardinal Seahawks.
Good morning.
7 o'clock, good morning. Here we go. Here we go. I got to give you headlines. Mock game yesterday for the Seahawks. We'll talk to Greg Bell. We won't do too much in the headlines about that because Greg Bell of the Tacoma News-Tribune and Hugh Breedlove-Millen will be both with us in the Seahawks at 7 here in a moment. M's day off yesterday. Nice help. Slick Hawk, say thank you to the St. Louis Cardinals.
Thank you, St. Louis Cardinals.
They beat the Royals and beat them like a rented mule. So that means the Mariners gained ground yesterday without playing while idle. Tampa and Kansas City now are tied for the second wild card, and the Mariners are one behind. Ariel Miranda, Kendall Graveman today. Miranda's got to get going. This is starting to get ridiculous. Last 5 starts, ERA 6.51. Andrew Wiggins, is he worth $150 million over 5 years for the Minnesota Timberwolves? Owner says yes. Courageous was the word that David Griffin, the former Cavs GM, used to call Kyrie Irving's request for trade from the current Cleveland Brass. Jay Cutler introduced in Miami, $10 million, a 1-year deal that can be worth as much as $13 million. Jarvis Landry, the wide receiver, under investigation for battery. Mike Trout, the 7th youngest hitter in Major League history to reach 1,000 career hits. Golf's 4th and final major a couple of mornings away. They'll play at the beautiful Quail Hollow in Charlotte, where they play the Wells Fargo on an annual basis, though they didn't play it there this year. And the most dominant player in recent memory on that track, Slick Hawk, where they're playing the PGA Championship, where he's won a couple of times, and I think both times by like 5 or 7 or 8 shots. Young Rory McIlroy has had more success on that golf course than anybody in the world. So he will go in, if not the betting favorite, then one of the betting favorites.
Aha.
And that's the headlines as I see them.
Yes, breaking news.
Hugh Millen's here. How's your morning going so far?
Great morning.
You know, actually,
Yeah.
that wasn't the word. How's your day going?
How's your day going?
Morning, I think I wouldn't have bristled at the morning if you would have used morning instead of day.
Really?
Yeah, because morning, I'm a couple hours into the morning. But I am a couple hours into the day, but I'm a couple hours into a 24-hour day.
Ratio is
So everything would be cool if I said, how's your morning going?
Yeah, I don't.
But you
cool.
bristle if I said, boy, that's a
How's
high
your day
standard
going?
to live up to around here.
Here he is. Hey, Greg, how's your morning going?
My morning's well.
How's your day going?
Thank you for asking.
Are you going to bristle if I ask you how your day goes?
Is it a little too? What is it?
No.
Okay, so let's get Greg Bell. Let's get Greg Bell's answer on this. What would be the time of day for somebody who normally rises, let's say, at 7 o'clock? What would be the cutoff time of when you can start asking, when it makes sense, when it's reasonable to start asking a guy, how's your day going so far? Because let's say 5 minutes after you wake up, you wouldn't ask that question. So there's got to be a Hugh Millen cutoff time. When is that, Greg? When would you say that is?
Maybe 10. But you were talking to a guy who in his former life used to get up at dark 30 and do a bunch of PT, and his day was full go by 8:15. So
well, that's because we do more before 9 o'clock than most people do all day long. Right?
Very well put, Matt.
What do you like more, Greg? Do you like a mock NFL draft or a mock NFL game more?
Well, actually, it's the game. A mock game actually has more tangible value in relation to what's going to actually happen on the field this season than any mock draft. So
okay,
it was only a mock game in that they did the pregame timing. Referees adjudicated the game as something like they would in a real game, and the coaches are on the sideline signaling and radioing plays into the linebackers and quarterbacks. So it was that way. It was more. That's what the mock game of it was. They weren't tackling and didn't have kickoffs and punts or anything. But,
okay, all right.
Yeah,
so
that's really what the mock game was. It was a team scrimmage with a little more of a game structure.
Is it appropriate to ask who the stars, who the MVPs were of the mock Seahawks game yesterday, or is that too strong of a question?
Well, in this case, it's appropriate because Russell Wilson had a second consecutive really good game, a really good practice day, throwing the ball precisely. And Pete Carroll actually had a reason for it. He said that they changed their practice reps and gave Wilson more throws and more snaps, And I noticed he and the entire starting offense was alternating each drive, including finishing the scrimmage with it. Often they take the entire 2 or 3 or 4 drives and let the second and third teams play for long stretches of scrimmages like that. So Carroll's saying that they decided late last week to let Wilson do more. What's that done is created an even larger gulf between Wilson and the backup quarterbacks in performance and quality and status. Those 2 backups, Boykin and Austin Davis, are really struggling this camp. And accuracy, decision-making. I mean, Austin Davis threw a ball 5 yards wide of C.J. Prosise on a middle dump-off yesterday early in the scrimmage, and Prosise looked around to both his left and right wondering where that pass came from. Boykin threw an interception that Earl Thomas got. The other star yesterday was Shaq Griffin. We've been talking about him for a while, and I've said he's the rookie most poised to start. And when Jeremy Lane has been out now for 4 straight days, Shaq Griffin's been the starting right cornerback, and Pete Carroll and Richard Sherman, and everyone's raving about him. And Carroll said yesterday they've never had a cornerback this fast, this big. And that's exactly down Carroll's wheelhouse for
how much do we take everything that's being said with a grain of salt, because they rave about everybody, even guys are getting ready to cut, they rave about.
They do, but they usually don't rave this much about rookies. They temper their talk about rookies, saying almost like they have to give them an initiation period. But Griffin, Sherman was telling me he's piling on more and about ready to go into a deeper dive with him on how to play the position, because he's mastered everything so easily so far. Griffin's talking about how the step kick technique is still so new to him that he's thinking about it, and it's taken some time. And those are the kind of things that the new cornerbacks to the system, Kerry Williams, for instance, never could master that, and he was a veteran. That's the kind of stuff that game film will show out, if he's able to do the new things and do it instinctively without having to think about it. If you think about it at cornerback in the NFL, your receiver's 5 yards behind you and it's a touchdown. So we'll start seeing on Sunday at the Chargers how ready Shaquille is for this job. But I think Griffin is as poised as any rookie to start, and he's going to start at right cornerback, and Jeremy Lane would be the nickel.
Did you say that Russell Wilson's throws were precisely or procisely? I didn't hear exactly the word you used.
Precisely. 1-2 precisely, though, down the sidelines.
Okay. There you go. Thank you very much. I'll be appearing at Giggles all week.
Me there. You were a little ornery today, so he was accurate in that.
All right. And we're going to hear from Pete Carroll here in a few moments, are we not, Slick Hawk? Okay, Pete Carroll's press conference. Is it the press conference or the Softy?
Yes.
Press conference. Between what he did with Softy and Hugh and the press conference, it seems like the more and more he tippy-toes around the Malik McDowell story, the more and more we get the feeling that there's a very good chance that this guy will go on injured reserve and never see a down in his rookie season. Is that correct?
That is correct. And yesterday Carroll did say multiple serious injuries. He must have said serious injuries 4 times in a 10-minute span. And the fact, Mitch, that they sent him back to Michigan on a plane during training camp, I mean, if he's even remotely possible to play in the next few months, you don't send your top rookie pick back home.
Right.
And so he's in Michigan right now as they prepare for their first preseason game and are only 4 weeks from the opener. I would be, at this point, very surprised if he even gets near the field in 2017. And Carroll again said the team was bowing to the wishes of McDowell's family and not detailing exactly what the injuries are. I asked him if it was a fracture to the skull or head, and he said no, but definitely that a concussion was involved. The one good silver lining of this is that if they're allowing him to fly at 35,000 feet for 4 or 5 hours at a time to Michigan and back twice in a week, it must not be that serious of a head injury that he can't do that. I mean, a guy with a very serious brain injury would not be able to fly.
He also said, did Pete Carroll also not say to you guys or to Hugh and Softy that he feels fine, which is the frustrating part?
Yes.
He
and
feels
that was
fine, which is the frustrating. Yeah.
And he meant fine walking around. The doctors have not permitted him to do anything but walk. That's the only physical activity he can do, which speaks to a ton of suppositions of what it might be injury-wise. anything that would not allow him to jar any bones in his face or who knows. But all he's allowed to do is walk. And, again, if you're a month from the regular season opener and you got your top pick who can only walk, and all the aside from the very real concern of his long-term health, just the fact that he's losing conditioning and on the field and getting his legs on, all that stuff pretends that he's not going to be back this season.
Okay.
And Carroll stopped just short of saying that, I thought. And actually what he said to Hugh and Softy on your station was as clear as he's spoken yet about the bleak possibilities in 2017, saying that would be a lot to ask.
All right, we'll replay Slickhawk. We'll replay that at some point on the show today. At least the comment about Malik McDowell on that afternoon show. Before you go, give me an update, and I'll ask you the same question at a later moment on the show. Give me an update on the wide receiving competition. We're talking 5 or 6 spots, correct, depending upon special teams.
Right.
I can do the math. You don't have to tell me about Doug Baldwin, Tyler Lockett. I guess I should end there. Doug Baldwin and Tyler Lockett. Speak to me about the other 3 or 4 spots that are up for bids.
Well, with Lockett still just getting back off PUP list, Paul Richardson was the number 2 wide receiver. He was actually the guy who caught the pass on the first play of the scrimmage from Wilson on the sidelines. A nice catch on 2 knees. So at the very moment, Paul Richardson would be the number 2.
So he's safe. You think he's safe?
I think so. I think the way he ended last season is showing them, we're reminding us why we picked you in the second round.
All right, so let's say those 3 are safe. Go to the next guy.
I think Jermaine Kearse is safe for what we've talked about. Is that, and I, again, Hugh, sorry I even brought the name up, but I think he's safe because the trust he has with Russell Wilson, and I think he's safe.
Okay.
David Moore is someone who's rising. He's a 7th-round pick, a Division II player out of East Central Oklahoma. He made another play yesterday in the red zone. Wilson's throwing to him in scrimmages. He's catching the ball. Now, yesterday, the starting offense went against the second-team defense. Those second-team defenders were Pierre Desir on one side and Nico Thorpe, whose stock has dropped as Shaquille Griffin's has risen, on the left side. But David Moore he's kind of a bigger type receiver, not tall, but a little bit stocky and thick and sturdy, but can also run. And I think he's getting a longer look, and he's another one of these guys at these preseason games.
Does he play special teams?
He'll have to.
Okay.
He did a little bit at East Central Oklahoma, and that will be the determinant for him.
So David Moore is one. Yep.
But Amara Darboh, you draft him in the 3rd round, and teams don't typically cut 3rd-round draft picks.
All right.
That may be number 6, which leaves guys like Kason Williams, who sat out with a twisted ankle that he got on Sunday's practice, scrapping for the last spot.
No Cyril Grayson, none of that.
Well, Grayson, I think they're going to try to get him on the practice squad. He still is. He's very intriguing to them. But they have a Pro Bowl kick returner who's coming back itching to run kicks, and so they don't really need what Grayson could do immediately, which is catch the ball and run. Where he's nuanced is receiving and offense and playbook. It may take a longer. I think he may be destined for the practice squad. But again, if they can find a role for a guy of his physical talents, they will. It would have to come at the expense of a guy like David Moore right now.
Okay, got it. That's good for today. Thank you. We'll see you out there tomorrow morning. Greg Bell of the Tacoma News Tribune, Seahawks Insider. Make sure you follow him on Twitter and read all of his stuff in the Tacoma News Tribune. Thank you, Greg. Appreciate it very much. Pete Carroll on Malik McDowell. Pete Carroll on Shaq Griffin's progress. Pete Carroll on the updates to the injury front.
Sit out in the game today, Pete. Pretty good all-around play. Guys played good and hard. This is the first chance to really get closer to a game-type situation. We've been working on situations and segments, and now we put them together, and we really were able to see a lot of stuff. So the film should be a great film for us to see and get in preparation for next week.
Russell looked like he was really on it again today. What have you seen?
Yeah, he's had a few days just back to back, and he's really on it. So he's getting changed his reps a little bit. I want to give him some more reps to make sure he's getting enough turns, and since we've done that, he's really even picked up. So he's doing great. He's in good shape, and he's whipping the ball around really well.
How about CJ Prosek?
I thought he did well today. He looks great. He's in really full tempo now. Kind of just let him just kind of blend in for a bit, to make sure that he's out here for the long haul. He is. He's in good shape right now. He looks great. Unfortunately, he was sick to starting out camp, but other than that, he's done everything, and he had a couple of really good plays today.
Pete, what's the status of Frank?
Frank should be back next week. He missed a couple days here, coach's discretion, and other than that, he has a little knee thing that he's working on. Make sure that he's okay, but he should be back next, maybe Wednesday, Thursday. I don't know what day it is, but like Wednesday, Thursday, somewhere in there. It's something that's been bothering him a little bit. It's very slight. We know what's going on. That was not really the issue. What's going on?
What about Jermaine Fetty?
He did work in the early part of practice today, and he'll be ready to go on. What day is today? Today's Monday, so Tuesday's off, so Wednesday.
Was Joe Cole just
I'm back.
Done a precautionary thing?
Yeah, he's just a little sore from all the work. I just want to make sure and not push him too far, knowing that there's a big day coming up. He's done everything up till now, and he's done really well. Really like him in both spots. So it's the experiment of, can he play both spots? Could he be a starter in both spots? Yes, is what we feel, and really excited about that. And so we're going to see how it fits together with the other guys. George Fenton has done a really nice job, and George making a real plea to be the left tackle for us. And so things are going very well in that regard. He's got a slight soft tissue thing going on that should be. He ran yesterday. He ran today. He should be ready to go on Wednesday.
What's the update on Dowell?
He had a serious accident. He had multiple injuries. Had the injury to his head. It's going to be quite a while, and we're going to have to wait it out. And so he's on NFI, NFI, and he's going to be there for a while. And we're just going to have to see how he progresses really down the road. We're not looking for him getting back in the immediate, not even for the first game of the season, that kind of stuff. We're going to wait it out and see how he does.
Just to clarify on Frank, he wasn't injured during that fight, or do you know that or not?
No, he was not.
What stands out with this group of pass-catching weapons that Russell has? I don't know.
I think there's a real diversity here. When you go across the board and start with Doug, and Doug can do everything, with exceptional, playmaking receiver for us in all phases. We've got really good speed. Locke can run. Paul can run. New Kid can run. I mean, everybody's fast. We have Curses can do everything. You see that Darbo is a guy that looks to be kind of in that mold. Big, strong kid that can do everything. Runs really fast. He's caught everything we've thrown at him. Really smart. And we think he's going to be a physical guy in special teams as well. All the way to the other end of the spectrum where Tanner is. Tanner's a big guy, 235 pounds, playing wide receiver. And for Tanner, this is really his second full year. And we're just starting his second year at playing receiver for us. And he looks very comfortable at the position, and he's unique. And so as he gets back into it, he's really just kind of re-entering. We're going to see how it fits. It's going to be a really interesting group to put together. McKissick is an interesting kid for us, too, because he's got a lot of versatility, and he's a returner as well. The return of Tyler Lockett really makes us really special, because Tyler can do everything. And so it's a fun group. I don't know, I probably left somebody out, but it was a good group.
How good does Jimmy look?
Yeah, Jimmy's the best he's looked. He's really in great shape. He's very confident, feels good, can work every day. We'll start to work that in later, but he's on it, and he's blocking really well. He's really become the Y blocker for us. When we want him, we can run right at him. We expect him to be a dominant guy at the line of scrimmage. That's a change. That's really a change. It's really just he's just worked at it and developed it. Didn't really see himself as a blocker in the past. He does now, and he's really good.
What have you been able to learn about Eddie Lacy in the few days you have in the pads?
Eddie's doing great. He hasn't missed anything. He's been very attentive to everything that we're doing. He can catch the football well. We know he can run thick and heavy. You don't get to see all of that right now. He's in good shape. He's done everything we've asked of him. He's done a great job. So we get to get these games, and it's going to take us a while. But as we get to these games, everybody's going to get the football. We'll just see how it feels with the different guys running, because we have a lot of diversity in the running back spot as well.
You think in the back?
Yep. We've been perfectly on track.
Regarding Dowell's injury, is his career in some jeopardy?
We don't think so. But we have to wait. He's just turned 21. We just got to wait him out. He's a real young kid, so he's got plenty of time to get well. But we have to make sure and take care of him.
Do you understand the circumstances of the injury, how it happened?
Yeah, I know more so. Yeah, and I have talked to him about it and all of that. I think for the family, we've told them, they had asked us, so how to express what all that took place and all of that, and we're complying with that.
So since he plays this year, though, or?
I don't know that. I like to hope so, but I don't know that. He has been. He went back home.
But what's the next step for him?
He's just got to wait it out. Just got to wait out recovery. He's not working out yet. He can't do anything as far as physical workouts. He's walking is what he's doing, and he feels fine. And he's very frustrating for him because he feels fine, but he's just got to make it through the recovery.
Can you give any more clarity to that injury you talked about? Concussion, fracture?
Well, certainly there's a concussion involved. But yeah, no, I won't know until I see the film.
How's Shaquille picking up the technique?
I'm pretty excited about him. He's doing really well. He has only taken positive steps. He's learning well. He's serious. He's got a mentality. I think that it's going to allow him to deal with the issues, the challenges of playing. And when Richard's on that side and there's a guy over there, you're getting the ball a lot. And that's going to come. He's going to get a lot of work. We're trying to work him in practice like that, so he'd have a sense for that. Jeremy Lane being out has given him an opportunity to go with the ones, which has been great for him to get in the huddle with those guys. He's really fast. He's got really good hands. He's got natural movement. He's very strong. He's got good feel for playing the football. There's just nothing but positives, and we've never had a guy that runs this fast, that's this big, and so it's really right now it is all about technique, and he has no problem with it. But he'll get a lot better. He'll understand situations and the application of technique much more so. It's just going to take time. So we're going to get a lot of play time in preseason. We'll see how he does.
I like it. That's Shaq Griffin. He's talking about Shaq Griffin right there. Our guy Shaq. I like it. Anywho, we're getting ready to unveil the poll question today at 7:45. 7:45 in 23 minutes. We're going to unveil the poll question that Hugh has given way too much thought to on the sidelines.
Now, when do we get to weigh in? Not at 45, right? We have to wait till like 8:30. The phone
28.
time? Yeah.
It's an interesting question. I don't even know where I dreamed it up when I was standing next to you on the sideline. Anyway, Daily Schnoz coming up. What potential fantasy football league, won't say star, but productive fantasy football league player is now not going to play this year, and so you should not draft him? Next on 950 KJR.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent news story, and I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
The Daily Schnoz. Now, the day's biggest stories in the world of sports. The Daily Schnoz. Brought to you by Michael's Toyota of Bellevue, with a service department that's open 7 days a week. It's truly all about you at Michael's Toyota.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special bulletin.
This is the Daily Schnoz.
All right, so you know that I come up with a poll. We come up with a poll question every day.
Yeah.
We ask people to text in their answer, their opinions at 7:45, and then we take phone calls at 8:28 about the poll question and get your guys' view. And anybody who participates goes into the drawing for the 50-yard line seats for the Cardinals-Seahawks game, Game 16, New Year's Eve.
Mm-hmm.
So the other day, it's right after Frank Clark goes flying and hits Jermaine Ifedi. I'm standing next to Hugh on the sideline. I don't even know what possessed me to ask this question, but I just asked it. And we decided to start talking about it. Before you know it, 2 or 3 or 4 people are talking about it. And here's your poll question.
It's buzzing
today.
up and down the practice sideline.
Up at the sidelines. Alley fight. Alley fight. All Seattle Seahawks that are on the practice field for training camp are participants. One-on-one alley fights. NCAA tournament bracket. You win, you advance. No weapons, nothing but your feet, your legs, your arms, your strength. An alley fight.
Yeah.
I want to know who your final 4 are. I want to know who your final 2 are.
This
and
is eye gouging.
Yes,
this
anything
is testicles.
goes. Anything goes.
This is
anything goes.
More unrestricted than the octagon.
Right. Anything goes.
Just no.
2 men in an alley. Yeah. 2 men in an alley. Survivor wins and advances. I want to know who your final 4 are based on strength, speed, whatever you want to use, meanness, toughness, whatever you want to use. All right?
Yeah.
49451. I want to know who your final 4 are. Any Seahawk that's on the field or not on the field, as the case may be, is available as a participant. All right? Final 4, final 2, and champion. alley fight. Your alley fight Seattle Seahawks champion. Got it?
Yep.
All right. 49451 texts for the Heritage Distilling text line. And then at 828, we'll take your phone calls on the phone poll. All right, we're going live to New York. Let me make sure I pronounce the guy's name right. Well, the lady, is it a lady or a man? Gentleman. Christian Dyer, but that's not the name that I need to pronounce right. It's Quincy Enunwa, the wide receiver of the Jets. Christian, out for the season, Metro New York. What happened?
Well, first off, before we even go to that, thanks for having me on, guys. And who I want in an alley fight is Brick from Anchorman. He shows up with that trident, and it would be all over. Okay. So I want those 50-yard line seats right now.
You got it. And by the way, we will ask as a bonus question to this question, a bonus, we will ask Hugh Millen to give us his all-time alley fight champion of all the teammates that he's ever had in the NFL. The meanest, toughest dude, the guy who would win the all-time Hugh Millen bracket amongst teammates. We'll ask him for that. Tell us about Quincy Enunwa and what he did and what the Jets will be missing in this wide receiver. Christian.
Yeah, potentially the only bright spot for a Jets season that's going to be a dumpster fire. And if it wasn't a dumpster fire before yesterday, it's absolutely going to be one now with Enunwa going down. He's a third-year wide receiver, kind of a flex guy, can play tight end, a little bit under the radar. He was a late-round pick of now gone general manager John Idzik, someone that certainly fans of the Seahawks are going to be familiar with the role that he had with that organization. One of the few draft picks that actually worked out. He now has a bulging neck injury, the bulging discs in his neck. He's going to be out for the entirety of the season, probably the only reliable wide receiver. And you're talking about an impact for the Jets. I know that people are talking about how this is going to hurt the offense. I think beyond that, looking ahead to 2018, with most people thinking that the Jets probably are essentially tanking this year, it's going to be really hard to evaluate the young quarterbacks that they have, Bryce Petty and Christian Hackenberg, if they see any time this year, because there's just not going to be any targets for them to throw to. This was the one guy they were really counting on to kind of be the centerpiece for a bad offense. With him gone, this could be a historically bad offense for the Jets.
Okay, so did you say this is a neck injury? What's the issue?
It was a neck injury. It was a non-contact. He hit the turf kind of awkwardly, rolled around. They expect a full recovery, but in all likelihood, he's going to need surgery out 6 to 9 months.
How did the Jets get – I mean, was this a plan to really do a dumpster fire? I mean, was this a planned situation to really break down the house and completely knock it down and start from scratch, or did it somehow just get here some way or another? Christian.
And that's a great question. And the Jets had to get younger. Keep in mind last year they brought back an awful lot of a core from a 2015 team that was 10-6 within a game of making the playoffs, was in the hunt as of week 17. And then that season absolutely imploded last year for the Jets. They had to get younger. They hemorrhaged a lot of veteran talent from Nick Mangold and David Harris to Darrelle Revis. This Jets team is going to have between 80 to 85, maybe $90 million in cap space heading into 2018. It may not necessarily be the plan to tank the season, but when you're looking at the young quarterbacks potentially coming out in the 2018 NFL draft, the Jets in all likelihood are going to be primed. Now, that comes with a caveat. The Jets have historically found a way to screw themselves over, probably more than any other franchise in NFL history. They may find a way in Week 17 with a top 3 pick on the line to be able to win and really screw themselves out potentially of getting one of those top quarterbacks. That would be an all-time Jets thing to do.
Got it. Christian Dyer in New York. So you're thinking it's a 1-15 type of team, 2-14, something like that?
Yeah, I certainly think that they've got some good competitive young pieces. I just don't think they have enough overall depth, and they certainly don't have any difference makers on offense. 2, maybe 3 wins.
Okay. There he is, Christian Dyer in New York. There's your odds-on favorite for the top overall pick in next year's draft, the New York Jets, who had a few good players, and they lost one of them for the year. Quincy Enunwa, a 25-year-old receiver who did catch 60 balls last year in his second season, was thought to be kind of an 80-catch guy this year, will not play the entire season with a neck injury. Story number 1 on the day.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you this important bulletin from the United Press. Flash.
I don't don't know what's interesting about Brandon Albert. I know that David Lamb from WFXJ is with us, and whenever he's with us, I'm interested. I'll listen. I like the accent. I like the whole intonation. I like everything about David Lamb. Brandon Albert was like a Chief, then a Dolphin. He's an offensive lineman, David, that retired and now is unretiring. What's the scoop of this Jacksonville Jaguar?
Well, if you know anything about a Tom Coughlin-run team, you know there's a lot of tough love and intimidation. And the point I'm making is, right now we don't have a lot of leaks. Players don't talk much, so we sort of have to look at it and speculate and just take what they say. You know, Albert did not participate in any of the voluntary workouts during the entire spring. There were all sorts of stories that he wanted to renegotiate his contract after the Jaguars acquired him from the Dolphins. You know, there were other stories that he was just tired of playing. He gets here 3 days into camp. He hangs it up. It wasn't a lot of panic because the Jaguars drafted Cam Robinson out of Alabama in the second round. And when they drafted him, the assumption is there's the left tackle for the Jaguars. If not this coming season, at least beyond that, and hopefully, you know, for 10 years or whatever it is. So, you know, when Albert did resign, people were scratching their heads and actually giving him some credit, saying, you know, he could have just hung on. If he makes the 53-man roster, he's going to get $9 million handed to him. He was kind enough to go ahead and quit and forego that money. Maybe he got to thinking about it. Maybe the wife said, hey, stupid, get your ass back out there.
Yeah.
You know, and see if they'll take you back. And, you know, and another line of thinking was that once he got in camp and he looked at Cam Robinson, he went, whoa, you know, I can't compete with that right now at this point in my career. So there are a lot of questions to still be answered. His coming back can't be a bad thing because the Jaguars have some real issues on their offensive line, and they can use all the depth. If he's not a starter, at least he gives them, you know, a veteran with some, you know, as far as depth goes. So it can't be a bad thing, and maybe Coughlin and Doug Marrone, the coach, maybe they called him and said, hey, rethink your decision.
Yeah.
Come back, see what goes.
Give me 20 seconds, David, on Cam Robinson. You mentioned him. We had an eye on him here in Seattle. We wondered if the Seahawks would be at all interested in him. Is it way too early to get any kind of an indication whether he's a player or not?
I think it's way too early for any of the rookies because how much have we really seen? But, you know, what we have seen and what we hear, I think the Jaguars are pleased. We don't know that he's done anything outstanding in camp, but he certainly hasn't been getting beaten around, you know, like a blocking dummy. So I think right now the feeling is that he was a good draft pick.
All right. David Lamb in Jacksonville, WFXJ. Thank you, David. The story is that Brandon Albert, a veteran offensive lineman due to make $9 million after 3 or 4 days of training camp, quit. Now he's trying to come back. And they've got Cam Robinson there, the left tackle of Alabama, who the Seahawks and a lot of other teams passed on when they were moving down to get Malik McDowell, another guy, along with all the corners that they decided they didn't want. And instead they drafted Malik McDowell, who, of course, now we're waiting to see if he'll even play it down this season after the ATV accident. 30 seconds away from an $150 million man in the NBA.
The Classic Golf Club, located in Spanaway, offers world-class golf for everyone with its fun and challenging course known for its smooth, fast greens, rolling hills, and firm fairways that are perfect for golfers of all skill levels. For a limited time, the Classic is offering a 30-day trial membership with unlimited golf packages starting at just $170 with no contract. Come out to the Classic and discover your new favorite course.
Life that you live. The new Michaels Automotive Group at the Eastgate exit off of I-90 for the life you live.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you this important bulletin from the United Press. Flash.
The Daily Schnoz.
Jerry Zgoda, the Minneapolis Star-Tribune, on $150 million. Jerry, it's just amazing how every other day you pick up the newspaper and another NBA guy's getting $30 million guaranteed or more, some cases $40 million guaranteed. You watch Andrew Wiggins day to day. We all know about him. Tell us, is he one of these superstar transcendent players, or is he just a very, very good player, Jerry?
Well, right now I would I guess you'd say he's probably just a very, very good player, but you're betting with the 5-year, $148 million that he's going to become the superstar type player. He's only 22 years old. Certainly it's a little bit of a risk, but that's what they call the price of milk these days in the NBA. I mean, that was the plan all along. Even when they made the Jimmy Butler trade, they probably couldn't have signed, or at least not comfortably signed, all three of their young guys, Towns, Wiggins, and Zach LaVine. You just can't pay that much money for guys that you're betting on their potential. So they traded LaVine for Jimmy in the Jimmy Butler deal, and then I think the plan all along was to extend Wiggins and Towns, Wiggins this year, Towns next year, to max deals, thinking, they're your core, they're your young players. And the question, with Wiggins is what it's always been since college. Does he want to be great? And that's kind of what they're gambling on here with this contract, hoping that he becomes that in the next 5 years.
And it sounds like it sounds like that part of the story is that the owner, Glenn Taylor, wants to talk to him before he commits to this. And it sounds like he wants the guy to look at him eye to eye and say, I'll do what it takes to be great, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the way this owner is, Glenn Taylor. He's very much a handshake, kind of look you in the eye, old-fashioned business kind of guy. The only question in the last month was would they sign him or would they trade him in a deal for Kyrie Irving? And, the words of the owner sort of make the case to make the trade. I mean, with Kyrie, you know what you're getting. You're only getting it for 2 years, and then he can become a free agent. So you're really betting on a short time frame, but you're not really worried about his potential now. He's 3 years older. That's part of it. But he's also a guy who is a different kind of player. And with Wiggins, I mean, you see it in flashes. You see it primarily when they play Cleveland, the team that traded him. I think he averages about 35 points a game against them. So you can see times when he wants to be great, but he's just inconsistent. And they're hoping that Towns and Wiggins grow up together here. And I mean, the biggest growth they're looking for is on the defensive end with both those guys. I mean, there's no question about either their offensive ability. The question is, I think when Glenn Taylor wants to look in Wiggins' eyes, he wants to get some sort of commitment that this guy's going to become a two-way player.
Okay. Real quickly, and I don't have a lot of time left, did they have to still re-sign Butler to a long-term deal? How do they do with that?
Well, they've got him for 2 more years, and then there's an option. So they've got a 2-year window with him. So
how many will they win, Jerry? With those 3 stars, how many will they win out of 82?
I'd say somewhere probably in the mid-40s, maybe 46, somewhere in there.
Okay. Jerry Zgoda in Minneapolis Star-Tribune. It looks like Wiggins is about to get $150 million over 5 years. Not bad for playing basketball or doing anything else. That's for sure. Jerry, thank you very much. Jerry Zgoda on the Andrew Wiggins story on 950K. All right, so.
Well, that's the news. I'm out of here.
All right.
The Daily Schnoz, brought to you by Michael's Toyota of Bellevue on Sports Radio 950.
Now, I'm going to warn you.
KJR.
I'm going to warn you. This is why we love Hugh so much. Okay?
Yeah.
This was like an off-the-cuff question that I thought maybe we chat about for a minute or two. And before you know it, Hugh's really breaking it down for us.
Yeah.
Okay? So there's been a lot of thought. Don't just come to the texting line at 49451 or the show on the phone lines at 8:30 and just kind of off the cuff throw out some names. Put some thought in this. What are you looking for? Speed, combination of speed or toughness or physicality or size or just mean or, alley fight, baby. Alley fight. I want to know. We want to know which Seahawks, current Seahawks, in an alley fight. We do an NCAA tournament bracket with 64 or more. Who's your final 4? Who's your final 2? Who's your toughest, meanest son of a bitch? Who's going to win the alley fight championship of the Seattle Seahawks? Hugh not only has an answer to that, but he is strong in his belief of who's going to win. I can say this because I've listened to the answer. Oh. He is not waffling. He immediately identified the guy that he thinks will win, and he's convinced he will not only win, but it will not be that difficult for this guy to win. But I'm not going to tell you who that is. He's going to tell you who that is. We want to know who you got. 49451, Heritage Distilling text line. I don't think so, but okay. Letters. Oh, we get letters. Hugh's got something to say in 8 minutes on 950 KJR. He's gonna chew on our ear with something that's on his mind. I'm curious. And by the way, the rules of that deal is I have no idea. I have absolutely, as I sit here today, right now, 8 minutes away, I have no idea what Hugh's got on his mind. It could be Seahawks, it could be football, it could be non-football, it could be athlete's foot. I have no idea. Yesterday, what was it? It was the attention span of people in 2017. That's what it was yesterday.
Well, as it pertained to complaints about the Hall of Fame speeches.
Hall of Fame speeches, right? Okay, so that's coming up here in just a few moments. Our poll question today, we're going to give you a chance to win 50-yard line seats to the Cardinals-Seahawks game at the bottom of the 8 o'clock hour. That's 8:28 if you call in on the phone poll. Here's the poll question. All right? Alley fight, Slickhawk. An alley fight. No ammunition, no weapons. You got you and only you against others. Seahawk players at training camp, on and off the field. Mm-hmm. I want to know from 49451, the Heritage Distilling text line. I want to know from Seahawks fans or just people out there who would be your champion, who would win an NCAA tournament bracket style alley fight competition, right?
Yeah,
tough, strong, fast, mean, angry. Who you want? Who you got in the alley fight?
Yeah.
The Seahawks alley fight competition.
Here's one.
Yep.
4, they ranked him. 4, John Ryan, Ninja. 3, a Tuba Rubin, Sandwich. 2, Earl Crazy Eyes Thomas. And 1, Cam Chancellor, Hammer.
Okay.
This one ranks them Britt, Cam, Affetti, and Marsh.
Britt, Cam, Affetti, and Marsh.
Yep.
Okay.
This guy says, my final 4 are Cam, Wagner, Thomas, Averill.
Cam, Wagner, Thomas, and Averill?
Final 2 are Cam.
Okay, hold on a second. Just I don't want to impart any opinion. I was trying not to, but I can't. You're telling me that if I put Earl Thomas, as much as we love Earl Thomas, in an alley fight with, I don't know, pick your guy, Frank Clark, just as an example.
Yeah.
You think in an alley fight, Earl Thomas is going to take out Frank Clark?
I don't hate his chances.
Really? Oh, come on.
That dude's freaking nuts.
Yeah, he's a peanut, for God's sakes. Okay. All right, go ahead. Continue. Continue with the text.
It's not the size of the dog.
Continue with
the
the
fight.
text.
It's
Go
the size
ahead.
of the fight and the dog.
No,
it's
the
size of the dog and the fight.
It's much about the size of the dog and the fight as it is the fight and the dog.
I don't care
you
how
gotta have
badass
size.
a freaking
come on.
wiener dog you have.
Come on.
A freaking dachshund ain't going
Thomas,
to beat
really?
a Rottweiler.
Okay, come on. Go ahead.
I'll take McDowell's ATV in a fight any day of the week. This one says, my final... Oh, that was George Fant. With all the beatings he took on the field last year, there's no doubt he can take a punch. This one says Cam.
Okay.
Justin Britt, championship wrestler, trains MMA. He's quite a beast, would hand out quite the beating.
Okay.
I think Tom Cable would be your supreme champion.
He's involved if you want him involved. Okay.
Can you add Tom Cable into the mix?
Sure, you can.
This one comes down to the final 2, Cam Chancellor and Mike Bennett, but they don't have a winner.
Cam Chancellor and Michael Bennett in an alley.
Yep.
Okay.
And finally, somebody's taking Caleb Crawdad.
Caleb Crawdad, I do declare. All right, Hugh's got something to say here. We'll hear what's on his mind next. Also, your chance to win 50-yard line seats to the Seahawks-Cardinals game 16 of the regular season on New Year's Eve by calling and participating on the poll at the bottom of the hour, 8:28 on 950 KJR. Cliff Averill versus Michael Bennett in a matchup in the alley. Bobby Wagner versus KJ Wright.
Oh, really?
In an alley. Who you got? Bottom of the hour today. And Hugh Millen, make no bones about it, has given more thought to this. He's going to do his all-time Hugh Millen teammates one also, which is hard to do.
You asked me, of all the guys, you asked me yesterday, and And I gave you an answer, and I think I'm going to stand by it.
Okay.
But the thing is, there's all this hand-wringing about this fight, and there's no question it crossed the line. But honest to God, Mitch, I've seen 1,000 brawls. I mean, it's just part of right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm not trying to defend it, but it just is.
Well,
it's like saying, why is Wednesday after Tuesday? I mean, just is. There's brawls happen all the time.
But normally the guy keeps his helmet on.
Yeah,
so
no. He's
not
that's why I
nursing
said,
a broken jaw.
This one crossed the line,
next,
and it was intolerable. But I saw the headline on Larry Stone had a piece. Hey, there's no place in with the website. I couldn't click and read the article, but maybe there is no place. But guess what?
There is.
There is.
It's here.
It's here. It's always
here
been
to
that
stay.
way.
All right, real quickly, headlines, and we'll get Hugh's got something to say. Bottom of the hour, we'll get to the poll question. We want you to call us at 286-9595 or 1-800-829-0950 at 8:28 this morning, 8:30, and give us who you think would win the NCAA tournament bracket alley fight competition for the Seahawks. Consider all that you know about these guys. Who's your champ? Who's your Final Four? Who's your Final Two? Who's your champ? Who's the toughest? Who would win the alley fight champ? No weapons, just your hands and your feet and your toughness and your body. Who wins? Who's the baddest man on the Seattle
It's
Seahawks?
unprovable. It's unfalsifiable. I may be dead ass wrong. We'll never know. But one thing I'm not is confused about my answer.
Okay.
Would you verify to that?
Yes. Headlines. Mock game yesterday. Russell Wilson, 15-18, 244, and 2 touchdowns against the second-team defense, for whatever that's worse. The first-team defense stifled the second-team offense. M's day off yesterday. They're a game back of both Tampa and Kansas City in the wild card race thanks to the Cardinals' victory over the Royals last night. So they'll start a little two-game series with the A's today in Oakland. Ariel Miranda, who's been the craps in the last 5 starts. Kendall Graveman, who hasn't been good all year, gave up 8 runs in 2 innings 5 days ago, will face off today as we get down to the nitty-gritty now in the wild card chase. Andrew Wiggins, $150 million over 5 years. We think he's going to get from the Minnesota Timberwolves. Former Cavs GM David Griffin calls Kyrie Irving's request for trade courageous. Jay Cutler signs and is introduced in Miami. $10 million. That could be $13 million for 1 year. He said his wife convinced him to take the job. Wide receiver Jarvis Landry, who figures to be his number 1 target, is under investigation for battery of his child's mother, who says she was never physically harmed or never felt like she was in harm's way physically. Somebody's not telling the truth. Mike Trout, the 7th youngest in Major League history to reach 1,000 career hits. And, oh, by the way, 1,001 came a few innings later, a home run on his 26th birthday. Boomer Esiason says he thinks all football players have some sort of CTE, and golf's 4th and final major, the PGA Championship, begins Thursday in Charlotte at Quail Hollow. Amidst reports that they're going to move the tournament in 2019, starting in 19, for good, to May, so that you have 1 major per month. Masters April, PGA Championship May, U.S. Open June, Open Championship, known as the British to some, in July, and then you get the PGA Tour playoffs to start earlier, and they can get out of the way. They can clear the slate, clear the decks for the NFL season. They don't want the PGA Tour playoffs, as is the case now, to linger into the beginning of the NFL season, because that's when they lose all their viewers, whatever viewers they had. And with that, I love this part of the show. We promote it every day. We have challenged you, because during this time of year, he's always got something going on his mind. He's always got something in his spleen that he wants to vent. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative. We never quite know where he's going to go, and we don't pre-rehearse this. Slickock, you don't know what he's going to talk about right now.
No,
I don't know what he's going to talk about right now. But I'm curious. What's going through that mind of Hugh Breedlove Miller?
Well, when you said vent your spleen, it was originally presented to me, but just, hey, what's
Hugh's got something to say. What's on your mind?
What's on your mind?
Yeah, that's fine.
Right?
That's fine, yeah.
And so I wouldn't say I have something to vent or rant about like I did yesterday and a couple occasions last week, but I I will tell you what's on my mind a lot with the Seattle Seahawks. So much of what has been made with the deficiencies on the football team, you think of how it's constructed with the defense. Depending on how you want to define it, it's in the top 3 in the NFL in terms of how they're paid, right? And offensively, the woes, where this team has generally struggled to meet their goals, it's been more on the offensive side of the ball, and we direct our focus on the offensive line. But running backs are such an important part of this, and I just keep running. There's no doubt in my mind that they have upgraded the running back position.
Really?
Yeah. Well, if for no other thing, they have a lot of capable bodies. Whoever's not going to be making this football team
is going to be on some other team.
Is probably a pretty good halfback.
Okay.
And so, but they've got to get somebody to carry the mail for them. Part of the beauty when the Seahawks were playing at their best was as the offensive line struggled, they had 2 guys at the positions that would be most affected by subpar offensive line play. The quarterback, who in my view, I'll say it, I'll argue it, is the most elusive quarterback. Now, Cam Newton, he in some ways you could say is a better runner because he runs quarterback power. Okay, and for those football people know, he's running between the tackles and he's running behind a pulling guard.
He's being a running back.
He's hammering between the hash marks, and there's no other quarterback. When you run the
in
read
the history
zone,
of football that's ever done that.
None that I've seen. Yeah. I mean, Michael Vick was the first NFL quarterback I ever saw to do the college read zone. Well, you're keeping the ball outside the tackle in that LA area, and that's what Russell does, and that's what Kaepernick does, and what have you. Cam's the only guy that slams it up there in the B gap in between, running right at the middle linebacker. But from a elusive standpoint, in terms of play, go out and play tag. Draw a square in an elementary school playground.
Uh-huh. Maybe that's tomorrow's poll question. Who wins the tag? We go, Allie fights the tag.
Russell Wilson wins the tag contest in quarterbacks.
Doug Baldwin's going to be tough.
No. I'm saying quarterbacks in the NFL, starting quarterbacks.
Who wins the tag contest between Doug Baldwin and Russell Wilson?
Yeah, Doug Baldwin's quicker.
Okay.
Doug Baldwin's quicker.
Yeah.
But Russell Wilson
is a good tag player.
Hey, Marcus Tuiasosopo was not that quick, nor was he that fast. He only clocked a 4.75, 4.8, but he was a great runner because he had great instincts on how to set up blockers and what have you. So just because a guy might have the nod, Russell Wilson is not as quick as Doug Baldwin, but the combination of very elite quickness from a quarterback plus the feel and how to set guys up and the juke. So getting back to the point, he would have been the guy that would be suffering from that. And then Marshawn Lynch was the most physical guy for a couple years. If you didn't block a linebacker, he could be his own blocker, and he could go find a way to get you 4 or 5 yards, even though you watch the tape and you go, for heaven's sake, they didn't block the middle linebacker. This is ludicrous. In fact, they didn't even attempt to block the middle linebacker. They just ran Mars. Nobody would ever draw that up on a grease board. You run through the B gap between the guard and the tackle, and don't even think about blocking the opponent's middle linebacker. But that's how it played out Sunday after Sunday. And Marshawn Lynch still found a way to get yards.
Either he went around him, he went through him, or he carried him for a few yards.
So this quest by the team to upgrade the running back position, I think it's been a prudent course, and I think they're in a good place to find out who can be the guy to do it. Obviously, you bring in Eddie Lacy, you're trying to grab a little bit of that thunder that you had from Marshawn Lynch. And it's frustrating out there in training camp to not be able to see what he can actually do. He had a couple of occasions yesterday where guys came up and dropped the shoulder on him, but they still didn't have to get him to the ground. And so his value, quite frankly, if you watched him and you didn't know who he was, through training camp, at least to my eyes, he looks relatively slow-footed.
Oh, he does.
Yeah, and compared to other guys, I mean, he just wouldn't get your attention because it's not tackle football yet, right? You have to, every time you watch him, you have to say, it's tackle football on Sunday, and tackle football is all that matters. This touch stuff out there doesn't matter. So Lacy doesn't impress right now. This Carson kid that that everybody's talking about. That dude is legit right now.
In touch football.
In touch football, that dude he's got a great frame. He looks like he can carry a physical load. He has explosion. I can't wait to see this guy play. But I was in a training camp when Emmitt Smith was holding out, and there was a guy, Beasley, Michael Beasley, and Jimmy Johnson loved him in minicamps in touch football. As soon as they started thumping, all of a sudden he just dwindled. He just disappeared. So young guys, that can happen. They look great. And right now, Carson, he's the darling. He is the darling. And, you pair him along. Alex Collins is trimmed down. He flashes good things. C.J. Procise, what to make of him? He had a beautiful ball. They think of him as a hybrid player. He's not necessarily a 15 touches between the tackles guy, but they clearly want to get more diverse. We talked in the 6 o'clock hour about this guy McKissick, number 14, if I have his last name right. McKissick is a converted
fullback. Right? Fullback running
back from the Falcons. They picked up at the end. They're running him out at wide receiver. And, the thought may be that you in the program, you think of him as a running back. Let's see what number he wears. But he's got wide receiver skills. So they've got a wide array of skill sets. Lacey, the pure pounder. You've got
Thomas Rawls you haven't mentioned.
I'm getting
Is he getting squeezed here?
Domas Rawls looks great right
he does.
now. He looks great.
Okay.
He looks great.
Because I thought what you were going to tell me is all these guys, we know about Lacey and all these other guys look great, and you wonder whether Thomas Rawls is getting squeezed out of the action.
No, Thomas Rawls is not getting squeezed. They're handing him the football, and he looks great. Now, there's a ceiling on his athleticism. When he tries to bounce to the edge, God bless the young man. I mean, you can see the determination. I mean, it's written all over this guy. We saw him play in real football, and we know that he has grit. But there is a limit on his size, and there's a limit on his speed. And whatever he's going to produce, it's going to be, in large part, just due to a ferocious will. So I think it's a good situation. But when you ask me what's on my mind.
What's on your mind?
What's on my mind is.
You got something to say. What do you got to say?
What I have to say is they have to be better at the running back position than they've had. They've been, and that's been a combination of injuries and what have you. Marshawn Lynch. It's funny that we've been talking about Sean Alexander. Really, we're going to talk about Sean. We're going to call into a radio station and we're going to start talking about Sean Alexander going to the Hall of Fame. You know what? I know I can find on the computer and I can see the numbers, and there's a hell of an argument to be made that Sean Alexander is going to make it before Marshawn Lynch. But, God, what do your eyes tell you? What do your freaking eyes tell you when you watch Sean Alexander's career and you watch Marshawn Lynch? I'll tell you what my eyes told me, that Marshawn Lynch, snap to whistle, is one of the most badass football players I've ever seen, and he's, and I've been watching it for 45 years.
And you've often said, and you haven't done it in a long time, so tell everybody what the first thing that pops into your eye when you're a quarterback and you hand the ball to a running back and watch what then happens for the next couple of 2-3 seconds.
It's so sad. I wish every football. If you could raise your hand right now and say I'm a football fan. If the answer, your hand's up in the air, and I would love to have this experience. I'm going to say this as a quarterback. I'm going to say you can't go into a pocket, take 7 steps back, and hit a guy who runs a 4.4, being chased by another guy who runs a 4.4, hit him in stride when you've got 5 guys that are 300 pounds bearing down on you and do it in 2 seconds. I'm saying you can't do that. But what I am saying you can do, you could come pregame, and you could in 25 minutes, I could teach you to take a snap from a center, and you could just turn around and you could hand it to Marshawn Lynch. And then you could be 5 feet behind the action. You could watch how that hole goes, and the size, the ferocity, the speed, how these guys get hit, and how hard they hit the hole would blow your mind. Blow your mind. And even as a backup quarterback, which I mainly was, even standing that close, I'm following the ball, right? I'm as close. I'm 3 feet from the sideline. I'm following the ball, and you still, when you're that close, you still don't have the sense of how hard they're hitting. as you do when you hand the ball off to a running back and you stand between the hash marks and watch the battle that he.
You got to be one tough son of a bitch.
Oh my God!
To do
I
this.
think the running backs are the toughest guys in the NFL. I've thought that forever. Now it just used to aggravate me when I go slow motion and Sean Alexander was curling up before contact. He's taking a knee before he's getting hit. Drive me freaking crazy. And I got all these friends around the league that are that earlier were playing and then later were coaching. I'd see these guys almost every Sunday, and they go, Sean Alexander, what a puss. What is the deal? You know, how is this guy getting so many yards? I'll tell you how many gets so many yards. Walter Jones and Steve Hutchinson. But these guys, football people are like, oh, my God, dude, get your ass in the briar patch. And so we went from that to Marshawn Lynch. And so I tell you, when I get dementia, one of the last things I'm going to forget is the impression that Marshawn Lynch made on me every time he carried that football. So they're trying to get that back, a little bit of that with Eddie Lacy. He doesn't look great in training camp right now, but
they're playing touch football.
This Carson kid is, I think he's just kind of, I don't want to say electrified. I don't want to use too much hyperbole in the adjectives and all, but let's see this guy go.
He's going to be given. You would think that he's going to be given preseason, maybe more carries than anybody on the entire.
So
football
kudos
team.
to the club for looking at this issue and throwing a lot of good meat at this thing and using some resources, and somewhere, somehow, something's got to stick for this. And they got to have a couple, they got to have 3 guys to carry the load down the stretches in case somebody gets hurt. Running backs are on my mind, Mitch.
I like it. You've got something to say, and it's running backs today on 950 KJR. We're about to give people a chance to win some 50-yard line seats to see the Cardinals-Seahawks game on the New Year's Eve, the 16th and final regular season game, by participating in the poll question. But I want to, before we put this topic away, ask you about preseason carries.
Yeah.
This is interesting to me because you just named a lot of guys.
Yeah.
A lot of guys. And what we've learned about running backs in preseason is more and more as years go on, teams take their featured running back and they hardly give him a carry in the preseason, right? We've seen this.
Yeah.
We've all asked the questions, good, bad? Is there some middle gray area? What's the right process to go? They're probably trying to hash this out in training camps all over the country. And a guy like Eddie Lacy, coming off of injury, but still got something to prove. I mean, are we treating him like we treated Marshawn Lynch, where we're giving him like 1 carry a game? Does he have to go out there and play in the preseason? How many times are you going to hand the ball off in an average preseason game? Here's my question. How many times are you going to hand the ball off in an average preseason game? What's the answer?
30?
No. 25 times. All right.
Yeah, but 25 or 30. Yeah.
Let's say 25. Let's just use 25. Play with me on this. Let's say the Seahawks are going to average handing the ball off 25 times. You just named Lacy, Rawls, Carson, Procise, Collins.
I know.
There's not enough carries.
I know.
How do we figure this thing out?
I've never been to a high school debate class or a contest, but I'm assuming you pull a name out of the hat. I could pull any of the names out of the hats that you just mentioned. And if you said, okay, task me with making a credible debate about why that guy needs carries, every single one of them. Thomas Rawls, the injury, the situation with his injuries, we got to see this guy
play.
We got to see him play, right? Eddie Lacy, he's a fat ass for the last couple of years.
Yep.
He's losing weight. What does he have? Does he have the quickness?
We need to see him
does
play.
He have the thump? Can he drop people?
Play.
We don't get to see it in training camp anymore because the CBA has changed everything. CJ Procise. Guy's a Christmas ornament, always getting hurt. Got to see him play.
Need to see him
He's
play.
bigger. Got to see him play.
Got to see him play.
I want to throw him the football. Yeah. Got to see him play. Carson, the Darling. Everybody's talking about Carson.
He was the teacher's pet before they even hit the practice field.
In touch football right now, he looks better than anybody.
Mm-hmm.
You could make a compelling case. We got to see all these guys play.
How are we going to do it?
Well, you have
just
25 preseason games.
So you got 100 carries. You got 100 carries for 5 guys.
Yeah, they may get more than 100.
All right. Who wants to go see on the 50-yard line, the final regular season game of the year.
I would like to see that.
Cardinals and Seahawks, Week 17, New Year's Eve, 50-yard line seats, all right? Could be for the number 1 seed, could be for the NFC West, could be for home field advantage in the playoffs. There's going to be something big on the line on New Year's Eve at CenturyLink Field. Woo. And all you got to do to be in the drawing for the 50-yard line seats is call us right now, 206-286-9595, 1-800-829-0950, the number that nobody remembers, 1-800-829-0950. And the question is simple, alley fight. Alley fight. Let's get all the Seahawks players one-on-one in the alley, tournament style, NCAA bracket. Who's your Final Four? Who's going to win the alley fight title of the Seattle Seahawks and why? We want your opinion next on 950 KJR. Be back out there tomorrow, by the way, Hugh and I. 6 a.m. sharp, Hugh. Seahawks training camp. Be there at the VMAC. We'll see you in the gravel parking lot. And then we'll take a shuttle. Ryan Divish in 15 minutes, live from the Bay Area, where I know that we're all football-centric right now, but there's a pennant race going on. Do you call it a pennant race? It's not really a pennant. It's a wild card race.
It's a wild card race.
Wild card race going on right now.
Well.
What do you mean, well? It's not a wild card race?
Felix.
What about Felix?
It's on the DL.
It's still a wild card race.
Yeah.
They're a game back.
Yes.
On August 8th, they're a game back. 8-8. On 8-8.
I know. And I've been with it this whole time. And what'd I say? Be 500 on August 1st. And they did it, and they're doing great. They're a game back.
So the other day, Frank Clark takes a leap and hits Jermaine Ifedi right in the kisser. Right in the kisser. And neither one of them has practiced since. And it was a little bit of training camp violence. And here's what I would say: somewhere along the lines of what Hughes says about handing the ball off and then watching in amazement these men, and we're talking about probably 14 or 15 men at this point, 5, 6 offensive linemen, 4 defensive linemen, that's 9 linebackers, 3 of them at least, that's 12, a running back, 13, just go after it right in front of you. You say it never ceases to amaze you. Along those same lines, I'm just trying to give you the origin of the conversation, is I don't think you could go to training camp every single day the rest of your life if you're a guy like me, go to a practice or go to a training camp and stand on the sidelines. And even though you were there yesterday and the day before, not stand there at some point on the sidelines and be absolutely amazed at how huge these guys are, and how athletic these guys are, and how strong these guys are. It's just, I mean, you stand there at me, 5'10", you're 5'9.5". You stand there, and you're looking at one guy after the next who's 6'5", 290 or 300 or 320, and they're running around like they're freaking Usain Bolt out there, and you're like, God.
You ever stand next to Jimmy Graham?
Big. I mean, I end up standing next to the offensive lineman all the time.
Oh yeah.
And here I am watching the worst offensive line in the history of mankind, and every one of them looks like the biggest, baddest human being I've ever seen,
and
right?
The closer they get to you,
the closer
they get to you, right?
The bigger they are.
From 40 yards away, you're like,
guys, it's unbelievable how big every one of these guys are.
I'm in awe.
I mean, you watch Jermaine Kearse. I mean, Jermaine Kearse walks by you, and he's like, what, 6'2", 6'1", 6'2", something like that? And you're like, that's a big man right there. And he's like a peanut. He's a peanut. So, I asked you, alley fight.
Yeah.
It was on my mind from the Ifedi Clark thing. Alley fight.
Yeah.
Before you know it, we've got other guys, other radio stations participating. Before you know it, like 4 or 5 guys are participating and analyzing this. alley fight. And I said, okay, NCAA tournament bracket style, one-on-one, tougher, bigger, stronger man wins, survivor wins, no weapons, mano and mano in an alley, you win and you move on. Every guy out there, and we're standing there and we're perusing. Yeah. We're perusing offensive linemen. We're taking a look at the defensive linemen over here. We got the linebackers over there, and we're trying to figure out mano a mano.
Yeah.
And so you start getting in. Hugh starts getting into what you'd like to see in your guy.
You got to establish the criteria.
Okay.
Right.
And so you want to see size. You want to see strength.
Mm-hmm.
You'd like to see a little bit of speed. Right?
Yeah, quickness, absolutely.
Quickness.
Yeah. Can't be sluggish.
Right?
Yeah.
You want to see that ability to flip emotionally, that switch. You know what I'm saying? That, oh, my God.
To be able to go.
Where all of a sudden you're just like out of your mind.
You got to be a little bit of a dirtbag.
Yeah, that's the G rate. You know, you got to be a little bit batshit crazy.
Batshit crazy.
Yeah, how do you transport bats across?
All right,
on a bat ship.
Before we get
go batship crazy, man.
Anybody who participates goes into the hat for the drawing. You got the hat?
Yeah, I got
you keeping the hat for the 50-yard line seats on New Year's Eve to see the Cardinals.
But you also got to have tenacity.
Yes.
Like when things are down.
Yeah.
Are you going to tap out?
No, you can't.
Yeah,
because this is a fight to the death.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah, when your jaw got ripped off the skull, are you going to tap out then, or are you going to keep going?
Right. So?
It's like Rocky V.
You've given it a lot of thought. Now, I've asked you to do two. I've given you two assignments.
Yeah.
The Seahawks assignment, which I'm giving everybody. But then, I mean, he played 10, 11 years in the league with some badass human beings on the Cowboys, on the Patriots, on the Falcons. He was on the Dolphins. He was all over the place.
Pro Bowl players.
The Rams. You saw some bad guys.
Yeah.
Some badass guys that you don't want to run into in an alley.
No, you sure as heck wouldn't.
Okay, so I asked for his all-time Hugh Millen bracket as well. So let's start with the Seahawks. Go ahead.
Seahawks. Well, in the final 8, there was a couple dark horses that really went farther than you might think. I'm going to go way out of left field. David Bass.
I don't even know who he is.
6'4", 262-pound defensive end out of Tennessee. Number 47. I watched him right when you asked, and that guy just has that look, and so he made it to the final. Cassius Marsh is a way better athlete than people understand in this city. He's a better athlete than he is a football player. If he ever play. You're talking about a dude. Just look at his, skinny ankles, high cut calves. He prances like a deer when he runs. Watch him in space and special teams. This guy,
and he's a big boy.
He's a big dude, and in special teams,
he
running
seems
down
a little whacked out too. He seems like that he might just be trouble in an alley.
Yeah.
He might just be trouble.
He made a good run at it. He made the Elite Eight, but he got knocked. He was out. Now on Saturday. Now we're here at final weekend, right? The losers on Saturday. First of all, Cam Chancellor, his reach combined with his feet and his power. The power, power. I was told by a weight coach that power is strength over time. Cam Chancellor took that power all the way to the Final Four, but ultimately he couldn't play on Monday night. Mark Glowinski had the closest match on Saturday. Mark Glowinski. Now, I've heard this story told multiple times, and every time I hear it, it's the exact same rendition. Mark Glowinski and Michael Bennett got into a little John in the locker room.
Really?
And
is this a true story?
Yes.
Okay.
And Bennett started saying, "Hey, tomorrow at practice, you're going to find it." And he kept chirping, and hey, tomorrow at practice, and Glowinski had his shoulder pads in, dropped his shoulder pads, squared up on him, stood right there, gestured, "Why wait? Let's go right now." Why
From
wait?
From Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, Mark Glowinski.
Why wait? Let's go.
Let's go right now.
And Bennett was like, "Whoa, hey, we're good. We're good." he dropped his shoulder pads, squared up on him.
You
said,
know this.
Why wait? I heard it multiple times, and everybody who tells it, different parties, tells it the exact same way.
All right.
And then another one that he got with KJ, he wanted to go the next day in the parking lot.
Glowinski.
So Glowinski's got a.
Glowinski will take it there.
He's a captain of the bat ship. I'll tell you what. Right.
Okay.
But ultimately, the belt, no hesitation. Look, there's a bunch of badass dudes, but you got to prove to me. I want to see a guy who's trained to fight.
Trained to kill.
I want a guy who's trained to fight. And 6'5", and 7/8 at the combine.
6'5",
We're talking
7/8.
6'6", 325 pounds with pretty damn light feet, 45-0, undefeated 4A Missouri State champion in wrestling. Everybody knows most bar fights and most alley fights ultimately end up on the ground. So Frank Clark in the final, most powerful man against Justin Britt. Frank Clark knew his one chance was a lightning bolt straight to the center of the skull. Because a grazing glance ain't going to work. Britt's going to have his ass on the ground.
You're saying that Britt's the guy. Britt's the Missouri champion.
And that's what happened. Frank Clark knew he had to have the one shot. He took it. It grazed the side of the head. All of a sudden, Justin Britt had Frank Clark on the ground, 6'6", 325 pounds, and all kinds of effing ugly crap started happening then. Elbows that were supposed to bend in started bending out, and that was a nasty affair. And Justin Britt is your champion in the alley.
I didn't realize we were getting a full fight simulation.
Alley fighter that they've got.
It
Justin
just happened.
Britt. Justin Britt.
It just happened.
Justin Britt.
Justin
and let me
Britt.
tell you something.
Undefeated heavyweight state champion.
He didn't even hesitate the other day when I asked him.
Yeah.
And I was standing, and it's funny because what he told me, we were standing how far from Justin Britt when you told me Justin Britt's your winner? Were we standing 12 feet from him? He was right in front of us.
Yeah.
And you look at the man, and you're like,
how gigantic is he?
I'm not arguing with anything. I didn't even know that he was a wrestler.
Pretty good feet. Obviously,
but his legs are like oak trees.
Yeah, pretty good feet. You know, obviously Chancellor and Clark. You know, there's quicker guys.
You just picked just picked an offensive lineman. How funny is that?
Yeah.
You just picked an offensive lineman as the baddest, meanest guy you don't want to run into in an alley.
Yeah, man.
You just picked an offensive lineman of the Seattle Seahawks.
Because what else are we going to get? We can sit there and we can look and say, well, he looks badass. Hell, that David Bass I mentioned, he might be the guy. The fallacy in this might be, well, just go from starters because they're better football players. Well, they're marginally better football players, but as fighters, they might be woefully. You know, there's a good chance it's a third stringer.
But you don't have a lot of time.
I'm taking a guy who's
my
undefeated.
4th seed. It was almost Malik McDowell, but Deion Jordan just beat him out. So Deion Jordan's my 4th seed.
Deion Jordan.
Yeah. 3 seed is Cassius Marsh.
3 seed.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, you wanted to seed it.
You wanted like your final 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
My 2 seed is Justin Britt. My number 1 seed is Cam Chancellor. So I got Chancellor over Jordan, and then I got Cassius Marsh over Britt, and then
Cassius Marsh is going to take Britt out.
Yeah, he's crazier.
So you're using the crazy part as
I think
way more.
I think that's
so you're saying the fight is never on the ground then?
It's
a boxing match, right?
Okay. He'll get him in the stand-up.
Okay. And the winner?
Cam Chancellor over Cassius Marsh.
Cam Chancellor. So I got 1 Justin Britt, and I got 1 Cam Chancellor.
What about you?
I'm so influenced by you, I can't even give you my own anymore because now Justin Britt
what do
is
you
my
think?
guy. Justin
Britt?
Justin Britt. Based on what you said to me, Justin Britt. And then me looking at him, Justin Britt. Eric and Puyallup, go.
Yeah, I got Cam Chancellor, man.
Okay.
If we were in the alley, I would set him up and he would just give the hammer, man.
All right, Cam Chancellor versus Justin Britt in the final. I don't know. Sorry, Andre, I blew it for you. Go ahead, Andre.
So, yeah, Mitch, I got B-Wags, but look, how are you that buff and that fast? You guys are forgetting about Bobby Wagner. That's
Bobby
the champ
Wagner.
right there.
Turtle power.
Does he have the temperament?
He's a little soft-spoken. He's kind of, he's super nice. He's sweet. I don't know that he can flip out. Can he flip out? And he's going up against He's going up against an undefeated Missouri heavyweight champion. If he goes up against Britt.
Wow.
Mike and Bothell.
Man, I had Cam Chancellor, man.
Okay.
Bam Bam's going to take anybody's head off.
All right. Jonas Nokwame.
Oh, you got to go Cassius Marsh. He's the wild dog in the alley fight, man. He's gonna take everybody out.
All right. Cam in Seattle.
Hi, yeah. I want to make sure that nobody forgets about Earl Thomas. I mean, Earl has got that intensity, and look at, just as a point of evidence, look at that hit he put on Gronk. Could anybody else do what he did? And for the third thing, that guy wore a cape and a crown at his wedding. You know he got picked on in high school, so he's got a lot of fighting experience, I think.
He's got a lot of fighting experience, but at some point, he's going to be up against a 6'6", 340-pound monster realizing, what am I doing here?
I'm taking a Rottweiler over a Chihuahua every freaking time.
Jack in Issaquah, you're in the hat for the 50-yard line seats. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go Michael Bennett.
Michael Bennett. See, I was going to say Cliff Averill over. I'll take Cliff Averill over Michael Bennett.
Who said, "Hey, whoa, hey, we good? Sorry, Gawinski, I don't need all that." Really?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I think
he might be just a woofer and a yapper.
If you gave me the matchup like a Sweet 16 matchup of Michael Bennett and Cliff Averill, I think I'd take Cliff Averill.
Taking Averill.
I think I'd take Cliff Averill over Michael Bennett. I'm just saying. Don't tell Michael Bennett I said that. Jessica, go ahead.
Doug Baldwin. He's sappy. He's got that chip on his shoulder. He's got a low center of gravity. He's coming in hot.
Okay.
Are we gonna get a Blair Walsh call?
No,
it
seems
like we're evolving. We are on a path to a Blair Walsh call.
We got
some John Ryans.
John Ryans, because he gets votes for everything.
Well, he was on American Ninja Warrior.
Okay, he's the most popular.
This is not a fighting contest.
I'm just saying. That's why people say
because he's running over obstacle courses. And then Justin Britt's waiting for him at the finish line.
Oh God!
And then it's over.
John, no.
Justin Britt would laugh at some of this. Laugh.
Yeah, the boxing match becomes a wrestling match real fast.
Nobody's got Frank Clark.
Yeah, I'm surprised at that.
Nobody's got Frank Clark. No Frank Clark
really?
votes. Yeah, well, that's for now. Yeah. All right. We got Ryan Divish coming up live from Oakland. We've got a little bit of Richard Sherman. We got great debates. And somewhere in the NFL world is Jason Lockenfor. We just don't know where he is. He's in some training camp. We'll find out where in the world Jason Lockenfor is.
Now back to Mitch in the morning.
We'll be there tomorrow at training camp, bright and early at 6 a.m. with all the features. Hugh's got something to say. Another chance to get into the hat for the 50-yard line seats for the Cardinals Seahawks on New Year's Eve. Hopefully, a member of the Seahawks. This would be a novel idea. Maybe a member of the Seahawks will join us on tomorrow's program. Do you have any commitments from them?
We shall see.
Okay. Maybe Diamond Dave Pearson's staff will come through with a Seahawk for us tomorrow.
Well, I know last week it was tough to wrangle a guy on the off day for the next day, so we have a better bet on Thursday and Friday.
Oh, I see. So you're already discounting tomorrow. So tomorrow's already another day.
I'm just telling you what happened last week.
Right. Well, we'll hope to visit with some Seahawks players and coaches. There are coaches, you know.
Yeah.
There are general managers. There are lots of different people that have things to say. Hugh's not the only person who's got something to say.
It's true.
I'm laughing during the break at all these Earl Thomas references on the alley fight. I'm just laughing.
It's a honey badger, man.
It's funny that you should say that. I just made the analogy, and I had Hugh cracking up.
Yes.
Honey badger, toughest son of a gun ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tougher than
honey badger don't care,
right? It doesn't care, and it's just tougher than tough, right? Runs into a grizzly bear.
Well,
and a grizzly bear picks the honey badger up and cracks it in half and eats it. Okay,
that's a little unfair.
Yeah.
Well, that's what this. People who are saying Earl Thomas is going to win the whole thing are not thinking.
A grizzly bear? I mean,
Earl Thomas.
How tall is Earl Thomas? What, 5?
How about a leopard, a lion?
5'9", 5'10"?
Somebody against a grizzly bear. How big is how much does he weigh? How much does Earl Thomas weigh?
Not a lot.
Okay, how much does he weigh? Does he weigh 200 pounds?
Earl Thomas is 5'10", 202.
Okay. And then Justin Britt's going to laugh at his tenaciousness and his toughness and then pick him up and break his neck.
Maybe he'll be surprised by him.
Okay.
He catches him off guard.
Okay.
Unawares.
Before we get to Divish live in Oakland today, you promised us that you would give us your all-time. Yeah. We don't have a lot of time for this.
Well, you asked me yesterday. Yeah. Andre Tippett.
You're unbelievable.
Andre Tippett. Hall of Fame.
Has to
Hall
throw
of
in
Fame.
that I asked him
Well,
yesterday.
I mean, you promised. I mean,
Okay, all right.
Andre Tippett was my answer. You play with a lot of really big.
Give us some names of some badass human
Well,
beings.
Charles Haley was a Hall of Fame defensive end.
Forget
basically
football.
I
don't care about football.
Basically, every offensive lineman that Nate Newton's a giant. You know, I mean,
He's not beating anybody.
No,
Too busy smoking.
I'm just trying to think of names guys would know.
Okay.
Bruce Armstrong.
But Andre Tippett, 56, in an era
He's a Hall of Fame
in
linebacker.
an era where all the great linebackers wore 56.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But to me, I got to say, look, I know there's a lot of big, badass dudes that if you saw them in an alley, they'd look real intimidating. But if we're talking about all these hundreds and hundreds of guys, you'd say, I want to know a guy who's been trained to fight. That's why I say, one thing I know about Justin Britt, he's 45-0 in heavyweight high school wrestling. So a guy who's trained to fight, Andre Tippett, is a 6th degree black belt in Uechi Rai Karate.
What?
He went to Okinawa, Japan, to train with the world's supreme karate masters. 6'4", 250
He will
pounds.
destroy you in an hour.
I remember
He will
him.
literally.
Now, I wish I had more
He
details.
was a good football player.
I wish I had more details about what had pissed him off.
Yeah.
But I remember being in a team meeting room, and he stood in front of the entire New England Patriot teams, all these linemen, everything.
300-pounders
And
plus.
he
And he's
said-
about what? 250?
250.
Okay.
But he says, if I ever see that again by anybody, and he put his finger out, anybody in this room, I will put my boot right up your A. And he said that very emphatically, very, very, he wasn't messing around. He's the captain of the team, and he basically said, I see that again, and you're going to have to deal with me. And you could have heard a pin drop, man. It's all right, good. All right, let's stay on the right side of Andre Tippett.
Okay, so he's the guy.
Yeah.
10, 12 years in the league. He's the guy.
Yeah.
He's the guy.
Charles Haley is, you want to talk about the admiral of the batship fleet.
Crazy.
Just
nuts.
19,000 screw looses with that.
How many Super Bowl rings did he have?
Well, I think more than anybody. I think 5 or 6.
All right, we'll go live to Oakland next. We'll also get into some great debates and find out where in the NFL world is Jason La Canfora. He'll report in on 950 KJR. Just after 9 o'clock, good morning. Great debates coming. Are we going to hear from Richard Sherman this hour? We will. Where in the NFL world is Jason frickin' La Canfora? He's been everywhere. We have no idea where he is, but he's going to check in at some point today just to tell us where he is. Where he is in the NFL world. He's going from place to place, training camp to training camp. Give us some news. Let me get you updated on the headlines, and then we'll take a quick trip to Oakland to find out how this team that's so battered with injuries, this Mariners team, is handling it all. Mock game yesterday at the VMAC, number 1 offense, did a number on the number 2 defense and vice versa. Russell Wilson, 15-18, I think it said. 244 and 2 touchdowns. Maybe I have those stats wrong. M's day off yesterday. We will talk to Divish here in a second. They'll play 2 in Oakland. They get Kendall Graveman today, who gave up 8 runs in 2 innings 5 days ago. The team, the A's, are 4-5 in his 9 starts. Miranda's been a crap sandwich the last 5 games. There's no ways around that. 27 innings, 20 runs, 6.51 earned run average in his last 5 starts. Andrew Wiggins is going to get $150 million from the Timberwolves. David Griffin calls Kyrie Irving's request for a trade from Cleveland courageous. Jay Cutler signs in Miami. Mike Trout's the 7th youngest in ML history to reach 1,000 career hits. Dolphins star wide receiver Jarvis Landry under investigation for battery. Former NFL quarterback Boomer Esiason says he thinks all football players probably have some form of CTE. Golf's 4th and final major championship. I'm going to love it. The PGA Championship at Quail Hollow. And all kinds of reports that the PGA is going to get up and move to May starting in 2019 so that there's a major in each of the 4 consecutive months starting in April with the Masters, ending in July at the Open Championship, and then the tour season can kind of conclude before the NFL season begins. Hugh Millen is here. Slickhawk is here. A quick visit from Ryan Divish live.
It's time for Talkin' Baseball with Seattle Times' Ryan Divish. Brought to you by Michael's Toyota of Bellevue. With a service department that's open 7 days a week. It's truly all about you at Michael's Toyota on Seattle's Sports Radio 950 KJR.
All right, I guess we got to get an injury check from Ryan Divish. Let's start with Felix Hernandez. What's the problem? When did it happen? I woke up one morning on the weekend, I think it was the weekend, to find out, he's done for a while. What's the latest, Ryan?
The latest is we're still waiting to find out the exact kind of the time frame for him to come out, or how long he'll be out. They're going to send out a medical update today, I think, on both him and David Phelps. Felix, he didn't complain about being hurt in his outing in Texas or anything like that. It was the next day when he got up and he tried to, they usually play catch the day after they start just to kind of get things loose, and he felt some discomfort, and then they tried to get him, some treatment, get him ready to go for the next start, and he went to have his bullpen a couple days later and just couldn't throw. He tried to, it just didn't feel right, so they shut him down. I don't think, it was pretty surprising to all of us, but some people think it'll be minimal. At least that's what the doctors on Twitter think. But my guess is he's out 2 to 3 weeks minimum.
What is it, elbow or shoulder? What is it, arm?
Shoulder, yeah. More shoulder discomfort, shoulder inflammation.
Boy, oh boy.
So it's the second time this will be the second time he's been on the DL with shoulder issues.
Are we starting to ask long-term health questions about him at this point?
Yeah. It's twice in one season, and I think you have to wonder a little bit about what the wear and tear is like. We saw what happened with Iwakuma, where he had the inflammation and just never came back. I do think, though, that he sat out Felix sat about 2 months, about 6 weeks to 2 months, and he came back, and I thought, from strength-wise and velocity and everything else, it looked pretty good. But, I don't know whether, this is going to be a continuous thing. It's something I guess he's just going to have to deal with or learn to, overcome in terms of his routine, his conditioning, strengthening his shoulder, all these different things. Maybe it's a flexibility issue. I don't know. We haven't really kind of talked to him and see, but it's pretty disappointing for the Mariners considering, you go and you have to replace him with Marco Gonzalez, who's essentially coming back from Tommy John surgery and still, obviously not the same level as Felix.
Okay. So what's the rotation as we sit here today? It's Paxton and a bunch of guys, huh? Ariel Miranda, who has not pitched well, will pitch tonight. What do we got? What am I missing here? Gonzalez is going to stay in the rotation. Would they entertain Andrew Moore again, or is Andrew Moore finished?
They might think about it. I guess. Because it's all so basically, Mitch. You've got James Paxton and a bunch of number 5 starters. That's what you have. Essentially, before that, it was James Paxton was like a number 1 level starter. Felix was pitching at about a number 3, and the rest were number 5s. I wrote the big thing today. It's kind of a miracle that they are where they are, considering some of the guys they've rolled out there this year.
Really is. It really is. All right, the Phelps injury, everybody had decided he was out for the year before they even took a look at him. He threw a few pitches. He didn't feel right. He took himself out of the game. I know that these arm and shoulder and elbow problems are we just expect the worst, but I haven't gotten any sense, at least from Service's remarks, pre-examination, that this is necessarily a gone-for-the-year situation.
No, and Phelps didn't think so either because, he didn't feel any pop or anything like that or anything that kind of tore when he threw. He's been dealing with it the last couple of times out where it just didn't feel right. He kind of said that it was just like an ache in the back of the elbow, kind of like he said, almost in the bone. Mm-hmm. He's the guy who's had some elbow injuries. He had a stress fracture in his arm, in his forearm. So maybe that's something that they're gonna have to look at. But he didn't seem quite as concerned, maybe as you thought. And I think that's because you didn't have the huge pop or anything, or felt like something tore in there. So. I think they're hoping for the best, but, anytime with an elbow, he's going to be out 10 days. Maybe you always think 2 weeks just because.
Right. knowing now that and seeing Erasmo Ramirez's first 2 starts, would Jerry accept a deal from Tampa of Cishek for Erasmo Ramirez right now?
Probably, yeah. I mean,
by the way, I think I checked on Cishek. In his first 5 or 6 outings in Tampa, he had not allowed a run, and he had allowed 1 hit. He has been virtually perfect since he's joined the Tampa Bay Rays, by the way.
He's been really good. He's been really good. And Erasmo's looked a lot like the guy
we remember.
Yeah, I mean all the reasons why they traded him the first time, he still has, and I think part of it is, and Tampa put him in the bullpen for a reason. One, they have a lot better starting pitching than the Mariners. 2, he can't avoid that big inning. I mean, he has just that one inning where you're just like, what the hell were you doing? You know, I mean, he makes silly pitches in bad locations, and I don't know if it's sometimes the Mariners the first time around they didn't like how he didn't seem to follow the game plan. He kind of just went out and did his little Erasmo thing, smiling and looking like me and throwing, and he really just it just isn't working. So I don't know. I mean, I watch him, and every time I see him, I don't necessarily think that he's a real starter, and if he is, he's a number 5. I mean, it's just ridiculous that they're rolling out these guys. I mean, it's one thing to get a number 5, the production out of a number 5 guy, say it's Gallardo. You can withstand that if you have real guys ahead of him, but they don't have that.
Ryan Divish, proudly brought to you by Michael's Toyota of Bellevue. Designed all their departments around putting their customers' needs first, including their service department, 7 days a week open for your convenience. Michael's Toyota, just off of I-90 at Eastgate. And with everything that you said, with all their starters issues, with this ridiculous Erasmo Ramirez, followed by Marco Gonzalez, and a doubleheader. They had, I think that was the doubleheader. Marco Gonzalez in Game 1. And Erasmo Ramirez in Game 2 in a wild card race. With all that said, they're a game out. They're a game out, Ryan.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
It is. I think that's the big thing. I think obviously the Felix injury is bad, but the Phelps injury, because it looked like, and I know you tweeted about this, but you kind of saw once they got Phelps where they could go with that bullpen.
Yes.
Like if you got 6, then you had Zick and Phelps and Vincent and Diaz and Zepchinski, that all those guys to cover those 3 innings. And then you're like, okay, yeah, you can see how this might work a little bit. You shorten the game down, kind of like, obviously like a poor man's Royals from a couple of years ago, or even what the Yankees are doing right now. Get 5.5 or 6 innings, and we'll bring 4 or 5 guys out to just try to close it out. Right. But now with Phelps out, it changes the whole dynamic again. Yep. And I mean, either you're going to Alta Villa in that position or Emilio Pagan or somebody like that. It's just not the same. Okay. So it's going to have to be offense. I would assume Jerry's still looking to find starting pitching. I don't think that he's done. I mean, the waiver thing, you can kind of keep getting things done. Again, I don't think it'll be a big name, but he's going to have to continue to look. And as I wrote today, even if it isn't just about this season, and they need it for this season if they expect to contend, they have the same problems next year. I mean, you look at what is left in the organization next year, it's the same guys, and the same problems are going to arise next year. It's just Paxton and a bunch of guys.
Yeah. I'm looking at the next bunch of games. Let's go through tonight through Wednesday, August 23rd. Oakland, not very good. The Angels are okay, but that's Edgar Martinez weekend, and it's here, and they should be able to handle the Angels. Baltimore has not been good. Tampa's been hanging around and tied for the wild card race. You're going to go to Tampa for 3 days, but that's not like you're going to a place there's 50,000 are going to show up. And then Atlanta on the road. So, and that's not a good team. So there's some, even with all their problems, they should be able to, at the very least, tread some wild card water over the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 12, 15 games before they play the Yankees again.
Oh yeah, no, I think that they're capable of doing well against these teams. I still don't know how the Angels have been as good as they have. I mean, obviously you have Trout, but they have probably worse pitching injuries than the Mariners do. Right. The Orioles are a little different. The Orioles don't really pitch well either. It's going to come down to, again, how they hit. They're going to have to hit again, and they're getting back into the territory that they were in a little bit in May or late May, early June, where it's just like they walk out on the field knowing they have to score. Basically, they walk out on the field knowing they're down 3-0.
Okay.
That's where they live.
Where are you on the Yonder Alonso acquisition? I think we all should, at this point, kind of stand up and give deadweight Danny a round of applause because he was brought in here to do something very specific, and that's hit against left-handers, right? It was going to be it was going to be Vogelback. It was going to be Danny Valencia against left-handers. Vogelback flamed out before he got out of the starters box, for God's sakes. And all of a sudden, Valencia found himself playing every single day, which he hadn't done in years. He played a very capable defensive first base. He hit left-handers well. He was okay against righties. He, he hit second in the lineup. He hit fifth. I thought he did a fine job. I mean, for what they thought they had in Danny Valencia, for what they asked him to do, I think he did a good job. So now you get him against lefties, and you get Alonso, I'm assuming starting tonight, against righties. What do you think of that platoon at first base?
Oh, I like the move a lot, actually. If you look at it, it's just, it's just a better fit. You didn't really give up anything to get Alonso. I mean, I know he's kind of regressed a little bit since the first half, which was expected because those were ridiculous numbers. But you're basically putting two guys that have proven that they can hit in those situations. You're going to have Valencia against lefties, and then you're going to have Alonso against righties. They're two strengths. Now I don't know how Danny's going to handle it emotionally, mentally. I mean, he the last time that they brought in Vogelbach for like a week and he flamed out, but Danny wasn't upset. It's always been about playing time with Danny. That he has to. That he wants to play, and so we'll see, because he's in a free agent walk year, so he's trying to make money. So we'll see how it works. But I do think that the last couple of weeks, Danny's looked kind of overwhelmed against righties at times. So you go out and you get Alonso, maybe this is better. And I mean, this goes into the idea if you can't stop anybody, maybe here's a different way to outscore teams. And they're going to play a bunch of righties coming up too. I don't even think Tampa has a lefty in their.
So where will Alonso bat in the lineup tonight?
Scott will try and stay with that left right thing as long as he can, and try and protect them that way. But basically,
he'll hit
if they're what?
So he'll hit. No, he would hit. Okay, well, hold on a second.
He'll hit probably sixth.
Sixth,
or is where I would see.
Okay.
But the one thing is, I guess if you do start him against a righty, and you're worried about a lefty reliever, you can always bring Danny in to pinch hit in his spot for him, and then you defensively you're about the same. I thought Valencia's been pretty good. I mean, he's had a couple of really bad gaffes, but for the most part, he's been pretty respectable at defense.
It's good, and I think late inning stuff. Valencia to come in against a left-handed reliever, vice versa. Alonso to come in against a right-handed reliever if a lefty starts that night. I think that's a nice little layer of Scott Service's bench now. Ryan Divish in San Francisco Bay Area. Oakland and Seattle tonight. Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate the time very, very much.
All right. Thanks, Mitch.
Okay, there he is. Brought to you by Michael's Toyota of Bellevue. Service department, which is open 7 days a week for your convenience. Michael's Toyota just off of I-90 at Eastgate. A little baseball flavor as the Mariners get ready for the A's tonight. We see Yonder Alonso, the all-star, a 22 home run guy in the Mariners lineup for the first time against his former team, and a right-handed pitcher in Kendall Graveman. Richard Sherman spoke yesterday about a lot of things, including Shaq Griffin.
He's sharp. He's mentally sharp, and that's really, really unique for a rookie to be that mentally sharp and mentally on it. He's incredibly coachable. He does a great job of just being coachable, and when they correct a mistake, then he makes sure he makes the corrections. He's great in the run game. He's not scared to throw up in there, and that's what he showed today. That's what they were looking for.
Coachability, is that something that isn't maybe as common as people assume?
Guys try to be coachable, but it's easier said than done. If a coach says, we need you at this technique, we need you in this leverage on this play, it's easy for a guy to say do it, and you be like, okay, coach, I'm going to do it, but it's harder to put into action, and he puts it into action just about every time.
Do you take these guys a little more on I know you've done this in the past with Farrell and guys like that, or every year do you kind of do that with one of these guys, or are you doing it more now that you're older?
I think I've done it just about every year I've been here. I mean, except when I was a rookie and I was under people's wings. But I try to do my best just to give them the information that I have and to share the tips that I have, the things that can help him play faster, and he catches on really quick. deeper dive with Shaq because he's aptitude for accepting? I've told him that I would take him to the deeper water if he continues to advance as he is. But right now we're keeping it really shallow because you don't want to overwhelm him too quick and have him thinking about too much. But as we get into the season, if he's out there, he's got to deal with it.
How have you seen his technique develop since back in the offseason?
He's gotten more patient. He's trusting himself more. He's not biting on the receiver's first moves like he was in OTAs. He had a susceptibility to the inside release that he doesn't have as often anymore. He's not relying on his athleticism as much as he was at first. He's playing smarter, so all those things are coming into fruition. But those are just learning things being a young guy.
Earl had the interception out there. Just seeing him completely back and all that. How's that? What's that mean?
Oh, it's awesome. It's awesome. I mean, it means we're back complete. He's obviously a huge part of what we're doing and what we want to do. And we knew he'd be back. We know his personality. We know his work ethic. We had no question he'd be back in time. And we're happy to make sure to see that we were right.
Richard, Pete said Frank Clark has been held out for coach's discretion. Just have you talked to him and kind of what does he need to do going forward?
Yeah, we've talked to Frank, but Frank's good. He just made a mistake. Let his temper get the best of him. It happens out here, especially when it's hot, and you got grown men going at it. He understands he can't do it, and we can't play like that because then Pete's just trying to send a message, and he's also kind of banged up, so it kind of perfect storm for him, really.
Cam signed a contract last week. What was your reaction to that?
That was awesome. I mean, it's so awesome to see. You're so happy for him because he deserved it. He deserved it the first time, but, story for a different day. But he's done it. He's done everything they've asked him to do. He's an incredible leader on his team. He does more, probably double than the things that he gets credit for, and we're just happy to see him rewarded.
Richard, what did you think in the spring when they drafted 4 defensive backs?
I thought, rookie dinner is going to be nice. That's about it. We draft them just about every year. You got to replenish. The cupboard was a little bare, so I'm sure they were looking to get some guys. We're happy. We're happy. They got some good guys this year. They got some good rooks. They're coachable. They play football well. They work hard. That's all you can ask for.
Cam's deal, what do you think that says about just the bigger picture, or what message do you think that sends?
It's the same message all the rest of the deals send. If you work hard, you do what you're supposed to do, you play at a high level, they're going to reward you.
Speaking, you guys are playing the Step Up Center. What do you think that's going to be like?
Well, I played there in high school. My last high school game was there. We won the championship against Sherman Oaks, Notre Dame. Me and Jerron Johnson, and a lot of other players, obviously. But it was the Home Depot Center then. But it's a fun stadium to play in. It's pretty small for a league stadium, but I'm sure they're going to jack up the prices to supply and demand.
Anything else, guys?
Does it seem adequate for pro football?
Well, the field is great. They take care of the ground. So if you got 153 in the third, you're going to be good out there. But I don't know. What is it? 35,000 now?
Yeah, 33.
Not even that. Yeah, I mean, it's not. You couldn't get Dallas Cowboys fans, and our fans are in there. They pack it out. They'd be standing outside or standing on the roof or something. But I think for what they're looking to do, they're only going to be there short term. I think it'll be fine.
Richard Sherman. Are we going to get a call from Jason Lockenfora somewhere in the NFL land?
Yeah.
Up there? We don't know where he's from. Where in the world is Jason Lockenfora coming up? We're going to also yell and scream at each other. And the USA Today has projected the final college football records of every major Division I college football team this year in 2017. What does he have the Washington Huskies, or what do they have the Washington Huskies finishing? We'll tell you now.
It's time for Where in the World is Jason Lockenfora, presented by Zeke's Pizza, homegrown in the Northwest. Now with NFL Insider and CBSSports.com's Jason Lockenfora. Here's Mitch in the morning.
Where in the world is
Jason Lockenfora?
There's only South Korea. They get on it 'cause Korea come from the Red Sea.
All you want to do is hear this.
Yes! We don't even have to have him on.
Where in the world is
Jason Lockenfora?
Go from Nashville to Norway, but air to
all right, I'll bite. Where in the world is Jason Locken for today? Some faraway place? Where are you?
I'm in Costa Mesa, California, at something called the Jack Hewitt Sports Complex, where the Los Angeles, don't you say San Diego, Chargers are getting ready to practice. It's a weird setup here, man.
Wow.
It's like next to some high school. The players are pulling up in these, like, stretch limo kind of bus things, and they're already in pads. They're carrying, like, they're in their shells, and they're carrying their pads. There's maybe 150 people here, like, trying to get autographs. It's Godspeed, man. Godspeed to this L.A. experiment here with two teams. We'll see how this goes.
That's the Seahawks' opponent on Sunday night, Jason.
Oh, that's a big tilt. Who do you like? What's the over-under in that one?
I don't. Dear. So you're in California, Costa Mesa. Is that right? Costa Mesa, California. Costa Mesa,
Orange
California.
County, the OC.
Yeah. What's that going to be like with them playing in a soccer stadium this year?
It's going to be awkward. I think it's going to be weird. I don't know how it'll look on TV. I mean, I guess they did a joint practice with the Rams there to try to start working some of the kinks out. And from what I gather, it's kind of a neat fan experience because every seat is literally on top of, right on top of the action. I mean, I actually was out there. I was at the first ever game played there. I guess back then it was the Home Depot Center. And it was one of the first soccer-specific stadiums built in this country, and at the time it was going to be the home of the U.S. national team training center and all that. There was a lot of bells and whistles, and the luster is kind of worn off since then. I mean, look, you're not going to be able to cram more than 30,000 people in there. They're going to try to charge double a normal ticket price because, again, every seat is almost like a box seat. I don't know how it's going to go, Mitch. I have my reservations, man. I felt like this all was, it went from being on a 25-year timeline to like an 18-month timeline overnight because the owners saw the money. They got so close to that pot of gold that all of a sudden they jumped that rainbow faster than they probably should have, and they ended up with two teams here. And I'm interested to see what it's like. I mean, part of the reason I'm out here so long is because I want to spend a couple days with these guys and a couple days with the Rams and just talk to their owners and their upper management people about, how much money is there to go around for football? How much appetite is there for football to go around, pro football? And how sort of vigorous is this competition for those same entertainment dollars? The Chargers probably have the better team, but they've lost their first and their second round pick already again, and they're never not injured. And the Rams, I mean, they got a 1-year head start, but do they have a quarterback? Is anybody buying what they're selling? And their best player, Aaron Donald's, still not in camp. I mean, it's a little bit ominous to me.
How good are the Chargers? What are the question marks besides the first rounders being hurt?
I think if they ever got a full team on the field, especially a full complement of offensive linemen, then I think they'd be competitive within their division. But, what is that old saying? If my aunt had something else, she'd be my uncle. I mean, ifs and buts. They can't stay healthy. I mean, that's part of Mike McCoy, I believe, was fired in large part because of just the constant stream of injuries, and you reach a point where it's like, are we practicing wrong? Are we doing something wrong? Are we missing something here? Is there something in our DNA that is amplifying what had been a problem for years before, but not to this degree? I mean, is it some of it just bad luck? Some of it is, holdouts and guys coming in with natural, you get those soft tissue injuries when you don't train the way you should have and you're not doing real football activities. Some of it's unavoidable, but I mean, again, for them now to basically be not expecting to get their first or second round pick on the field at all and to have sustained some other injuries on top of that, I don't know, man. It's almost like they're snake bit a little bit.
Wow. Okay, have fun in Costa Mesa, California, and we'll talk again. Enjoy the Chargers. Thank you very much for checking in. Appreciate it very much.
Monday and Tuesday next week. Let me know. If you want me to sit in with you guys on Tuesday, I can get there early.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Thank you, Jason Lockenfor. Where in the world is Jason Lockenfor? He's in Costa Mesa, California. Hugh, you ever been in Costa Mesa, California?
Yeah, I had a home just in one little town over, Huntington Beach. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, no, it's good living down there.
2 NFL teams in Los Angeles. One playing in a soccer field with 32,000 seats. The other very bad. I mean, it's just something going on.
25 years and they didn't have any, and now they have 2. The L.A. crowd, it's just one of the worst in all of the country when you get down to it. When you consider the population and how indifferent they are, they don't need two teams, in my opinion. I don't know how the league couldn't stay in San Diego.
And with as good as both teams are, you could probably combine the two and make them one.
Yeah,
solid,
one
solid
fair
kind of
team,
kind of playoff caliber
it
team.
Wasn't
Los Angeles
yeah,
team.
It wasn't long ago. You think of this division; it was discussed by many as the best division in football, right? And then now, next to the AFC East, I mean, you're talking. I mean, this is all there. You'd be shocked if Seattle doesn't win this division, right? I mean, think of the teams in this division and the problems they're having.
You're talking Rams now. We were talking Chargers, but okay.
Yeah.
You
well,
segued
popped up the way.
okay.
Yeah, popped up there.
Yeah, to the NFC West. Yeah. I don't know about the Cardinals. I just don't know what the Cardinals are. They on their last breath, or is there still some fight?
Well, they had the most turnover of any team in all of football. Now, that's generally not a good sign. Now
but their stars are back. I mean, their good players are back.
But
they didn't lose their good.
Old.
Who's the best player? You say turnover. Who's the best player they lost? The best football player the Arizona Cardinals lost.
Calais Campbell.
Okay. He slowed down. He was not an all-pro
Pro Bowl player last year.
Was he? Was
Sure.
he that good last year? Okay. So he'd be one, but it seems like they've got the pieces pretty much. They didn't get killed by stars leaving through free agency and so forth, besides Calais Campbell.
Their offensive line is a wreck, and
it's been a wreck.
With an old quarterback. And, and Larry Fitzgerald, they're sliding him down.
Vegas still says, what does Vegas say? 9-10 games, over under
for Carolina.
Yeah, no. We're back to Carolina now. We're Carolina. You're taking me around the NFL like I'm.
I was thinking of how they lost to Carolina.
Where in the world is I started with the Chargers. I ended up in the NFC West. Now I'm with
not
Carolina.
Used to getting up this early.
All right, let's go. Let's give Slickhawk the floor.
Welcome everyone to the official debate section of the Charter Review.
The Great Debate, brought to you by Gamble Sands Golf Course. The Inn at Gamble Sands is now open, so book your reservation at gamblesands.com.
Jane, you ignorant slut. That's the way you do it. That's the way you debate.
We know what's going on with Malik McDowell. Now sounds like he's not going to play.
Yeah, I want to hear the cut from Softy and Hugh and Carol at some point in maybe our next segment. All right?
It sounds like he's most likely not going to play in 2017. Is this situation with Malik McDowell the most disappointing possible result from a draft?
Possible result?
Involving one player?
Involving the draft.
Well, the most... I don't know. If there was something that happened, if all 6 players got sick and couldn't play, I guess that would be more disappointing. If you're talking about it with a given player, I don't see how it could be more disappointing. I don't see how a player who 2 weeks before training camp, okay, I'm sure you will, gets on an ATV, gets in an accident, and now can't play the entire season. I don't see how it gets any more frustrating and worse than that.
The Rams drafted a DB out of UCLA years ago. It's funny because my agent called up and he was wanted to know if I would rent my house to him. But this guy ends up, I believe, involved in some big-time drug deal.
Oh.
And while he was in prison, he put a hit out on the judge.
What?
So he's in for 45 years. You could Google it. UCLA DB.
First pick?
Second round pick. Yeah.
Never played it down.
I'm a little sketchy on the details. It's been a long time, but
okay.
Wow.
Yeah, that's disappointing.
But
that's
I think
worse
the question
than the
was
ATV.
if you read it,
yeah, that's
worst possible or worst conceivable. Yeah, there's worse things that could happen.
All right. I stand corrected. I love Malik McDowell.
Today, in honor of the movie Dodgeball, ESPN has turned its ESPNU programming into ESPN 8, the Ocho. So, earlier they had darts and arm wrestling. Right now I'm watching this beanbag toss, I guess you call it cornhole championship.
Yeah.
What is your favorite obscure sport?
My favorite obscure sport. Obscure
that might
sport.
end up on that?
Yeah.
Ping pong can be fun.
You good ping pong player?
I'm okay.
Yeah. Can you get it done?
I don't want to woof about it.
He doesn't want to whoop about it.
Is it in the serve? Is that where it's all at?
Oh, God.
Ping pong?
A good game of kick the can?
Oh, jeez. You and your kick the can.
Kick the can? Obscure
I think
sport.
dodgeball was. I love that game. And
how about
I
kickball?
lived back
Did you like
before
kickball?
Political correctness. I mean, it was every single day. They offered it before school. You could come in and play every day.
Yeah. Dodgeball.
We
How
call
about-
it soak'em. We call it soak'em.
I tell you what, I was a hell of a racquetball player back in the day. No, not really. I'm just kind of woofing.
Racquetball's fun.
I could play a little bit of racquetball.
Yeah?
Yeah. That's a good game. It's a tough
Yeah.
game. You wouldn't think, in a little area, enclosed area, that it would be that tiring. Play a game of racquetball. Tell me
Yeah,
you're not
racquetball.
exhausted
No, I
after
played racquetball.
a game of racquetball. And you're like, why am I so tired? I've had to cover like 5 square feet here. Right?
Yeah,
you don't
yeah.
go very far in racquetball.
No, you don't.
And yet, you're exhausted at the end of a racquetball game. Why? Chew on that, mister. I got something to say.
Well, it's all short bursts.
I am
We're
so
leaving something
glad.
on the bone
I am
on this
so glad that you came to us and said, "Why don't we do this year?" And I got something.
I
to
need my
say
own segment.
Oh,
yeah,
geez.
that's how it went.
I'm so glad you did that. Gosh.
What would we do without that?
Pete Carroll tells you and Softy a little bit more about Malik McDowell next on 950 KJR.
Would you be surprised if Malik played this year at this point?
I think that's. It sounds like it's a lot to ask right now, but we'll just.
Wow.
I don't know. It's a serious injury.
Yeah. How the fans?
I'm sorry, I can't give you more information.
No, I got you. I mean, how frustrating is that? Because we're asking questions, the fans want to know, and obviously you guys, there's certain things you can't say. The family wants to keep stuff private, whatever. How tough is that to not be able to?
Yeah, it's I'm a big boy, I can handle it, but I wish I could tell you more, but I can't.
Yeah.
And really, I know you're curious and all that, but he's just going to be out for a while, and we have to wait it out, and we'll go through all the checkpoints along the way. He had a very good visit in here with our docs for a few days, and then we sent him back home because we thought that was the right thing to do.
Right.
And we'll get him back when the time is right, and we'll just see how it goes. It's going to be a couple months before we know anything further.
Wow.
Do you have an approximate time frame when you can start to share some of the development?
No, I don't know.
No.
I really don't know that. We're just going to take
How-
it. We have to go through the guidelines and the agreement that we.
When you're talking to Pete Carroll, do you feel in a rush when you're asking a question to get it out real quick?
He's going to step on you at the end. It's happened. Sometimes, yeah.
I feel like when I'm asking him a question, I got to go really fast to get done.
It's like
Like, I don't feel like I can say to Pete Carroll, "How you feeling today, Pete?" I got to go, "How you feeling today, Pete?"
I'm doing great and everything's
And then
all
get out of
good.
the way.
So it's a real cool day.
It's like the DJ at the club when he's
feel in a
mixing
hurry.
the beginning of the one song over the end of the other.
Yeah.
Like
Like,
I gotta
so there's
get
never a pause.
Got to
Yeah.
get it out and let's go.
Yeah, man.
Malik McDowell, man.
How about their top 3 guys right now? Now, I think Shaq Griffin. I'm very bullish on Shaq Griffin, and I think Ethan Posick could be. I likened him to maybe a Chris Gray type guy, but right now, you got the top 3 guys not starting. Right?
Right. I don't think that that's crazy talk.
All 3?
Well, no. I think it's against the odds. I think it's an upset, but it is a really good football team.
Yep.
And I think that there have been really good football teams where 3 guys have come in, probably top 3, and not started before. I don't think this is an unprecedented situation, but I get your point. I'll go back to what I said to you right after the draft, the day, whatever the first time you and I visited after the draft. I said the same thing. I said, as a Seahawks fan going into the offseason, they had to do 2 things. They had all kinds of different formats and different avenues to go do these things. Choose whichever one you want and go accomplish 2 things. Make the offensive line better and get an opposite corner starter to Richard Sherman.
Yeah.
That's what they had to do during the offseason. Now, this is before the offseason. They could go through free agency. They could go through trade. They could go through draft. They could throw through waiver wire. I don't even care. And so once the offseason came and went, and they went to the draft, you and I visited after the draft, and I'm sure I said it to you, and in the midst of asking you all these insane questions, I probably said to you, look, I'm circling Shaq Griffin.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
They chose not to go in free agency and get somebody. They chose not to trade for somebody. They chose to do it not in the first round. They chose not to do it in the second round.
King.
They chose not to do it in the second round. They chose to do it in the third round with all these different avenues that they could have gone to get the opposite corner. So I'm circling Shaq Griffin. So think about if I was circling him then, thinking Malik McDowell was going to be a good contributing member of the Seattle Seahawks defense one way or the other, right?
Yeah.
Think of how I'm circling him now, hearing that Malik McDowell is not even going to freaking play the whole year.
I think if I had told you on the night before the draft that the Seahawks, in no particular order, are going to draft a lineman, an offensive lineman, a corner, and a defensive lineman, you said, okay, sweet. And then I would tell you that the offensive lineman isn't going to start, despite the Pro Football Focus 32nd worst, and the lowest salary and all that. That the drafted offensive lineman isn't going to start.
Mm-hmm.
And the corner isn't going to start.
But I think the corner's going to start.
Yeah.
We both think the corner's going to start.
Yeah, but right now, I'm just saying right now.
Yeah, I'd be surprised. Not the defensive lineman, because we would have thought there's a great chance a defensive lineman will come in here and be part of the rotation. But he won't be on the field. He won't be announced to the crowd as a starter because of what they've got already at that position. But, yeah, I hear you. I'm stunned that we're on August 8th, that this is what they've done for the offensive line and the starting corner. I'm just done. I'm dumbfounded. I don't have any other way to explain it. I would have lost my life savings to you, Hugh, if you said on February 15th, Mitchie, how much will you give me if the Seattle Seahawks only get Luke Jokel in free agency and Bushi? They don't do anything at the corner in free agency, and they draft a third-rounder at the corner position, a guy that none of us has ever heard of at this point on February 15th. I would have said, I'll bet my whole life.
But post a second round, you got to throw him in.
Second round, right.
Yeah.
I would have bet my whole life. I would have bet my whole life savings that they would have done more than what they did to address those two spots. I'm stunned that they did. But
Rondé Barber was a third-round pick. I mean, look.
Oh, I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they didn't hit gold.
Yeah.
It may be. We may look back upon. I'm open-minded to Shaq Griffin being a Pro Bowler. I am. Mm-hmm. I'm open-minded to Ethan Poe. I'm just saying, if you told me this is what they're going to do to address those two big needs, offensive line, and they're going to do a second rounder, they're going to do nothing in free agency except for Jokel, and they're going to do a third-round corner out of Central Florida, I would have gone, come on, Hugh. They're going to do more than that.
Yeah.
All right. I'll see you at 6 a.m. tomorrow at the VMAC.
VMAC.
At the VMAC.
Okay.
All right.